Tonight, with this new blast of dangerous cold sweeping across the U.S., we're tracking a new clipper system moving from the Midwest.
Currently at a standstill.
What rises from the ocean but isn't the sun? What burns on water but leaves no ash? What shakes ground that has no fault lines? What sound echoes from the sky when there's no storm, no plane, no wind? What's carved in stone that predates every known civilization in North America, yet describes events happening right now? Why are rivers drying up exactly where ancient prophecies said they would? Why are scientists detecting solar anomalies that match 2,000-year-old warnings? And why is all of it, every single event, happening in the same 60-day window? You're about to see evidence that will challenge everything you thought was impossible, because 37 days ago, it started.
Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more awe-inspiring stories of faith, survival, and miracles.
July 1st, 2025. The morning broke differently along the Atlantic coast. From Jacksonville to Miami, from Daytona to Key West, people woke to something that shouldn't exist. Not dawn, not lightning, something else entirely. Columns of light. Vertical shafts rising from the ocean surface, stretching into the atmosphere like cosmic searchlights. Gold, violet, colors that don't belong in a sunrise. They stood motionless. No flickering, no fading, just pure, sustained radiance piercing through the morning mist for 6 full minutes. Weather stations confirmed it immediately. No storms in the area, no atmospheric disturbances, no lightning activity. Temperature and humidity normal, wind speed calm. Every meteorological reading showed a completely ordinary morning, except for the light. Cameras captured it from 17 different locations. Every angle showed the same thing. The beams weren't reflections. They originated from the water, rising upward like someone had switched on pillars of fire beneath the waves. A marine biologist in Fort Lauderdale recorded a voice memo at 5:52 a.m. His voice shook. "I've studied bioluminescence for 23 years. I've seen algae blooms, phosphorescent plankton, underwater volcanic activity. This is none of those. The light has structure. It has intention." Then, at exactly 5:53 a.m., the columns vanished. All at once, no gradual fading, just gone. People rubbed their eyes, checked their phones, posted videos frantically asking if anyone else had seen it. Within 90 minutes, the footage had spread across every platform. Scientists scrambled for explanations: atmospheric refraction, unusual cloud formations, military exercises. None of it held up, because 48 hours later, the ocean caught fire. Miami Beach, July 3rd, 2:17 p.m. Emergency dispatch received the first call. "There's fire on the water, not a boat. The water itself is burning." The Coast Guard responded within minutes, expecting a fuel spill, an oil tanker leak, something rational, something explainable. They found nothing. No wreckage, no chemical slick, no source. Just flames dancing on salt water half a mile offshore. Orange and yellow fire rippling across the surface like someone had poured gasoline on the Atlantic and struck a match. The flames moved against the current. They intensified in places where the water was deepest. A retired firefighter stood on the beach recording the whole thing. His voice cracked. "I've fought industrial fires for 30 years, refineries, chemical plants. This doesn't behave like any fire I've ever seen. It's not consuming anything. There's no fuel. There's no smoke pattern. It's like the water itself is the fuel." The flames burned for 19 minutes. Coast Guard boats circled the perimeter, testing the water, scanning for heat sources, searching for any logical explanation. Temperature readings showed the water was normal, 78 degrees. No thermal anomalies detected beneath the surface, but the fire continued. Then, at 2:36 p.m., it stopped. Just like the light columns, instant cessation. When Coast Guard divers went down to examine the ocean floor beneath where the flames had been, they found nothing unusual. No scorching, no residue, no chemical traces. The marine life appeared completely undisturbed, fish swimming normally, coral intact. It was as if the fire had never existed, except hundreds of people had watched it happen. Dozens had recorded it. Every video showed the same impossible scene. By nightfall, news crews had descended on Miami Beach. Scientists offered theories: methane seeps, underwater gas pockets, rare atmospheric phenomena. But none of them could explain why it happened exactly 48 hours after the light columns, and none of them could explain what came next. July 5th, 3:27 p.m., Central Florida. The ground moved. A 4.1 magnitude earthquake struck near Ocala. Now, Florida doesn't have earthquakes. The state sits on the North American plate, far from any significant fault lines. The bedrock is stable limestone. The geological conditions don't exist for seismic activity. Yet 600 homes lost power simultaneously. Traffic lights across Orlando failed. Emergency sirens activated across 3 counties, and from Tampa to Daytona Beach, people felt their floors shake, their windows rattle, their foundations shudder. Seismologists confirmed it within the hour. A genuine earthquake, shallow depth, epicenter near Ocala. No aftershocks predicted because there was no geological explanation for the initial quake. It shouldn't have happened, one geologist told local news. The stress patterns aren't there. The fault lines don't exist. This is like watching water flow uphill. But something else happened during that earthquake, something that made the ground shaking seem almost insignificant. The sky changed.
As evening approached, residents across Central Florida noticed it first. The atmosphere took on a strange quality. Not quite fog, not quite haze. A red-gray tint that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. No storms on radar, no fires reported, no dust in the air, no pollution alerts. Just this oppressive crimson atmosphere that made everything look like it was lit by dying embers. And then people started hearing it. A sound, low, resonant, like a horn blown in a distant canyon. It rolled across the landscape in waves, making windows vibrate, making car alarms trigger randomly, making dogs howl and birds fall silent. One sound, one long, sustained tone that lasted approximately 45 seconds. Then silence. A pastor in Gainesville was outside his church when he heard it. He described it later as not a sound you hear with your ears, but a sound you feel in your chest, like your rib cage had become a tuning fork. Meteorologists had no explanation. The sound didn't match thunder, it didn't match aircraft, it didn't match any known atmospheric phenomenon. But people across 7 counties heard it and felt it, and many of them, more than local authorities wanted to admit, reported seeing something in that red-tinged sky. Shapes in the clouds, not random formations, not pareidolia, the brain's tendency to see faces and random patterns. These were structured, deliberate, massive figures with what appeared to be wings spreading across miles of sky, positioned as if watching the earth below. A woman in St. Petersburg took 47 photos in 3 minutes. Every single image showed the same configuration, cloud formations that resembled beings, tall, robed, with appendages that could only be described as wings. Skeptics called it coincidence, believers called it confirmation, but nobody could explain why the formations appeared simultaneously across a 200-mile radius, all oriented in the same direction, all visible for exactly 12 minutes before dissipating, or why they appeared immediately after the trumpet-like sound, or why they appeared during an earthquake that shouldn't have happened, or why all of this followed fire on water that couldn't exist, or why everything started with light columns rising from the ocean. 5 events, 5 days, 0 explanations. And then came the discovery that changed everything. July 8th, the Everglades, 3 days after the earthquake. A geological survey team was assessing ground stability in the wetlands when one of them noticed something unusual. The water had receded in several areas due to the ground shift, exposing sections of swamp floor that hadn't been visible in decades. One researcher saw what looked like a large flat stone partially buried in the mud. At first, he assumed it was a natural limestone formation, But as they cleared away sediment, they realized this was no natural rock. It was carved. By 4 p.m., they had exposed an 8-foot-long stone slab, 3 feet thick, covered in symbols unlike anything in the known archaeological record of North America. The carvings were deep, professional, ancient, but that wasn't what stopped their hearts. At the center of the slab was an image, a figure with wings, holding what appeared to be a trumpet to its lips. Surrounding it were symbols representing water, fire, and sky, and beneath the figure, a line of text in a script that resembled, but didn't exactly match, ancient Phoenician. It took linguists 3 days to translate it. When they did, nobody spoke for a long time. The inscription read, "Fire will rise where the sea kisses the shore. Then the trumpet will sound." The stone was radiocarbon dated, multiple labs, multiple methods. The organic material in the sediment surrounding it suggested the slab had been placed or buried approximately 3,400 years ago, 34 centuries, predating Columbus by 3 millennia, predating any known European or Middle Eastern contact with North America. Yet here was a carved stone in Florida describing events that had just happened in sequence. Fire on water, then a trumpet sound. Events that occurred exactly as described, in exactly that order, 3,400 years after someone carved a warning into stone and buried it in a swamp. The discovery team was sworn to preliminary confidentiality while experts were brought in. But by July 15th, word leaked, photos circulated, academics fought over interpretations. Some called it a hoax, despite the dating. Some called it proof of ancient maritime contact. Some called it something else entirely, because there was one detail that nobody could dismiss. The slab hadn't been exposed by erosion or natural processes. It was revealed specifically because of the earthquake, an earthquake that shouldn't have happened in the exact location needed to expose this specific artifact, as if the earth itself had decided it was time for the stone to be seen. And the inscription didn't end with fire and trumpet. There was more text, smaller, weathered almost beyond legibility. Translators are still working on it, but preliminary readings suggest it continues the sequence. Something about shaking ground, something about blood in rivers, something about an age ending and a threshold being crossed. But the final portion, the part they've translated with the most confidence, says something that nobody expected.
What was buried will rise. What was bound will be freed. What was hidden will be known. And the choice will be given one final time. That translation was completed on July 22nd. The same day rivers in Tennessee turned red. The same day trumpet sounds were reported in Texas and Ohio. The same day a 5.2 magnitude earthquake hit Southern California. 5 events in 5 days. Then silence for 2 weeks. Then everything accelerated. Now we're not just seeing isolated incidents. We're seeing a pattern, a sequence, something unfolding with mathematical precision across the entire nation. And that stone slab in Florida? It suggests this pattern was known, predicted, carved into rock, and hidden until the exact moment it needed to be found, by people who lived and died 3,000 years before America even had a name. The question isn't whether something is happening. The evidence is overwhelming. The question is what happens next, and whether we're ready for the answer. Because if that stone is accurate, if fire and trumpet were just the beginning, then what's coming isn't just more strange phenomena, it's a culmination. But of what? Florida didn't ask to become ground zero. But when you map every unexplained event from the past 60 days, the lines converge on one state, one coastline, one epicenter of impossibility. Let's go deeper into what really happened there. Because what you saw in the news was filtered, sanitized. The full testimony of witnesses, the details that didn't make broadcast, paint a picture far more unsettling
then pillars of light and burning water. Start with the fishermen. The commercial fishing fleet out of Jacksonville operates on a strict schedule. Boats leave port at 4:30 a.m. They're 30 miles offshore by sunrise. July 1st was routine. 6 vessels heading to their usual grounds. Clear skies, calm seas. Standard operation. Until it wasn't. Captain Marcus Webb has fished these waters for 41 years. He's seen waterspouts, unusual tides, bioluminescent blooms, military exercises. Nothing in his 4 decades prepared him for what rose beneath his boat that morning. His testimony was given to Coast Guard investigators. They classified it, but his crew talked. At 5:44 a.m., their depth finder went haywire. The ocean floor, which should have read 340 feet, suddenly showed as 89 feet, then 52 feet. Then the screen went blank entirely. Something massive was rising under us, Webb told his first mate. I've tracked whales. This wasn't a whale. This was the size of a football field. They killed the engine, waited. The water around them began to glow, not the greenish glow of plankton, gold. Deep gold light emanating from below, getting brighter, getting closer. Webb grabbed the radio to call it in. Before he could key the mic, the light broke the surface. Not as a blob or a diffuse glow, as 3 distinct columns, perfectly vertical, perfectly still, rising from the water 200 yards off their starboard side. The other 5 boats in the fleet saw it from different positions. All reported the same thing, 3 columns of golden violet light standing in the water like pillars holding up the sky itself. And here's the detail that didn't make the news reports. The light had texture. Multiple witnesses described it the same way. The beams weren't smooth. They had a crystalline quality, like looking at light through faceted glass. And within that structure, there appeared to be movement, not random flickering, deliberate motion, ascending spirals within the columns, as if something was traveling upward inside the light itself. Webb's first mate, a man named Carlos Rivera, described it this way. It looked like a staircase made of light, and something was climbing it. The columns remained for 6 minutes and 17 seconds. Multiple boats recorded it. Multiple depth finders continued to malfunction. And when the light finally vanished, the ocean floor readings returned to normal instantly, 340 feet, as if nothing had displaced the water at all. Every boat returned to port immediately. Coast Guard investigators interviewed the crews separately. All testimonies matched. All video footage corroborated the same event. The official report called it an unusual atmospheric and oceanic phenomenon requiring further study. But here's what didn't go in the official report. When those boats returned to dock, their hulls were covered in something nobody could identify. A thin, crystalline residue that evaporated within 2 hours of exposure to air. Marine biologists collected samples. Analysis showed silicon compounds, trace minerals, and a molecular structure that one researcher described as impossibly organized, like someone had arranged atoms by hand. The residue vanished before more comprehensive testing could be completed. But 12 fishermen, hardened men who've spent their lives on the ocean, refused to go back out for 3 days. And when they did, they wouldn't go near that location. Even now, commercial fishing routes avoid a specific 10-square-mile area 30 miles off Jacksonville. They won't say why in official channels, but in the bars, in the docks, they'll tell you quietly. The water there feels different now, wrong, like something opened beneath it and hasn't fully closed. Move forward 48 hours, Miami Beach, the fire. The first emergency call came from a jogger on the beach, a woman named Patricia Saunders. She was running her usual morning route when she noticed something unusual about 100 yards offshore. The water was rippling wrong, she told reporters later.
not with the waves, against them, like something underneath was disturbing the surface in the opposite direction of the current. She stopped to watch. That's when she saw the first flame.
Small at first, a flicker on the surface, then another, then 6 more. Within 90 seconds, fire was dancing across a 50-foot radius of ocean, growing outward in concentric circles. She called 911 at 2:18 p.m. By 2:22 p.m., a lifeguard station had visual confirmation. By 2:25 p.m., Coast Guard boats were en route. But the fire wasn't waiting. It spread to 100 yards across, then 200, flames leaping 8 to 10 feet above the water's surface, orange and yellow with occasional flashes of blue-white intensity. Here's what the news didn't emphasize. The fire created a perfect circle. Not an irregular spill pattern, not a drift shape following wind or current. A geometric circle of flame on the ocean surface, expanding in precise increments as if someone was gradually increasing the diameter of a burning ring. Coast Guard Captain Jennifer Moss commanded the response. She's handled fuel spills, boat fires, industrial accidents. This was none of those. "Fire needs fuel," she said in her incident report. "We scanned for oil, gasoline, chemicals. Nothing. The water tested clean. But the flames were real. They had heat. They had intensity. One of my crew got too close and his face got burned. The fire was absolutely real, but it wasn't burning anything. Temperature readings of the water beneath the flames showed normal range. Infrared scans detected heat only at the surface level, the flames themselves, but no thermal source underneath. No heat plume rising from the ocean floor. No volcanic activity. No geothermal vents. The fire existed in a layer exactly 2 inches thick on the water's surface, and it behaved with intelligence. When Coast Guard boats approached from the north, the flames intensified on that side. When they circled to try a different angle, the fire adjusted, always maintaining maximum intensity toward approaching vessels as if warning them back. It was defensive, Captain Moss noted. The fire pattern responded to our movements. After 19 minutes, the flames began to recede. Not gradually, not flickering out. They contracted inward, maintaining the circular shape, shrinking in precise increments until they collapsed into a single point. Then, nothing. The water where the fire had been showed no signs of combustion, no ash, no residue, no temperature differential. Coast Guard divers went down immediately. They found something. At the center of where the fire circle had been, approximately 40 feet below the surface, there was a depression in the ocean floor. Not natural, not erosion, a smooth circular indentation about 15 feet in diameter and 3 feet deep at the center, as if something heavy had rested there and recently been removed. Sediment samples from the depression showed unusual magnetization. The sand particles were aligned in a pattern inconsistent with natural formation. One geologist who examined the samples said it looked like iron filings near a magnet, but there was no magnetic source detected. The depression was documented, photographed, and marked with a buoy for further investigation. 3 days later, the buoy was gone. The depression had filled in. The ocean floor showed no sign of disturbance. But something else remained. Fishermen who worked that area reported strange readings on their fish finders, not depth anomalies, signal disruptions. Their electronics would glitch when passing over that specific location. GPS coordinates would drift. Radio communications would crackle with interference. One charter captain described hearing voices in the static, not words, not English, but definitely vocal sounds, rhythmic and repetitive like chanting. He stopped taking clients to that fishing spot. Now the earthquake, July 5th, 3:27 p.m. Ocala isn't supposed to shake. The geology doesn't allow it. Florida's bedrock is stable limestone formed over millions of years from ancient coral reefs and calcium deposits. There are no fault lines, no tectonic boundaries, no subduction zones. Yet the ground moved with enough force to register 4.1 on the Richter scale. Seismographs at the University of Florida recorded it clearly. The wave pattern was unusual. Most earthquakes show a gradual buildup, foreshocks, the main event, aftershocks. This one appeared instantly at full intensity, lasted exactly 43 seconds, then stopped completely. No aftershocks, no follow-up tremors, just one isolated seismic event that shouldn't have occurred. The epicenter was pinpointed to a location 3 miles northeast of Ocala. When geological survey teams arrived to examine the site, they found something unexpected. The ground had cracked, not unusual after a quake, but the crack formed a pattern. It ran in a perfectly straight line for 1,247 feet, then made a 90-degree turn, ran another 1,247 feet, made another 90-degree turn. 4 sides, 4 equal lengths, a perfect square carved into the earth by seismic activity. Inside that square, the ground had subsided approximately 18 inches. Outside the square, no elevation change at all. Natural earthquakes don't create geometric patterns. Fault lines are irregular, jagged, following the weakest paths through rock layers. They don't make right angles. This did. Geologists measured the square multiple times, each side 1,247 feet, each corner exactly 90 degrees. The precision was unsettling. When they began excavating inside the square to understand what might have caused the subsidence, they hit something hard at 6 feet down. Stone, not natural limestone, worked stone, carved stone. That's when they called in archaeologists. That's when they found the slab. But we'll return to that, because while they were digging, something else was happening in the sky. The red atmosphere, the sound, the shapes. Starting around 5 p.m. on July 5th, residents across Central Florida noticed the light changing. Not sunset, that was still 90 minutes away. This was different, a red-gray tint that made everything look like it was lit by dying embers. Meteorologist Sarah Chen was on duty at Tampa's National Weather Service office. She pulled up every available data set, satellite imagery, radar, air quality sensors, particulate matter readings.
Everything showed normal. Clear skies, no smoke, no dust, no atmospheric anomalies. But when I looked out the window, she said later, it looked like the air itself was tinted, like someone had put a red filter over reality. The phenomenon lasted approximately 40 minutes, and during those 40 minutes, hundreds of people reported hearing the sound, a low-frequency tone, resonant, sustained, coming from everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. Sound engineers who analyzed recordings described it as approximately 37 hertz, below the normal range of human hearing, but still perceivable as a vibration. The frequency was precise, unwavering, like a tuning fork the size of the sky. And that frequency did something to people. Multiple witnesses reported physical sensations, pressure in the chest, rapid heartbeat, a feeling of profound unease. Some described it as existential dread, others as overwhelming awe. A music teacher in Orlando described it perfectly. It felt like my body was an instrument being played by something vast, not painful, but undeniable, like I was resonating with something bigger than myself. The sound lasted 45 seconds, then stopped. And that's when people started seeing the shapes, the cloud formations. Now, cloud formations can resemble anything if you look long enough. The brain is wired to find patterns. We see faces in random static. We see animals in clouds. It's natural. But this wasn't that. The formations appeared simultaneously across a 200-mile radius. Multiple independent witnesses in different cities saw identical configurations at the exact same time. Large, structured, clearly defined. A meteorologist in Tampa, a pilot approaching Orlando International, a highway patrol officer on I-75, all reported the same thing within a 3-minute window. Cloud formations shaped like massive beings, tall, robed, with what appeared to be wings spanning miles across the sky. The pilot took photos from 8,000 feet. The formations showed clearly, not vague, not ambiguous, structured configurations that maintained their shape for 12 minutes before dissipating. Atmospheric experts examined the photos. The cloud types were cumulonimbus and altocumulus, common varieties, but the organization was unprecedented. Clouds form along pressure and temperature gradients, one meteorologist explained. They don't create identical mirrored shapes across hundreds of miles. They don't maintain structural integrity like this. It's statistically impossible, yet it happened. And the formations weren't random. When you plotted their positions on a map, they created a pattern. They were positioned in a circle around the earthquake epicenter. 12 distinct formations, equal distances apart, all facing inward, toward Ocala, toward the geometric crack, toward where the stone slab would be discovered 3 days later. Some witnesses reported seeing more detail, colors in the clouds, gold, rose, violet, the same colors from the light columns off Jacksonville. One woman in Gainesville, a photographer named Rebecca Thorne, captured something extraordinary. She was using a high-end camera with excellent dynamic range, shooting the clouds as they formed. In her images, magnified and enhanced, you can see structure within the formations, not just cloud shapes, but layering, depth, as if the clouds were revealing something behind them rather than being the thing itself. It's like looking at a curtain and seeing shadows of something moving behind it. The clouds weren't the phenomenon, they were revealing the phenomenon. Her photos went viral. Skeptics called them edited. Forensic analysis showed no manipulation. What you see in those images depends on what you're willing to see. Some see clouds, some see angels, some see an atmospheric anomaly requiring scientific explanation. But everyone agrees on one thing. Whatever created those formations had intention, had design, had purpose. By 6:15 p.m., the red atmosphere faded, the clouds dissipated, the sky returned to normal. But Florida had changed. Not physically, not obviously, but something in the air felt different, heavier, more attentive. People stopped dismissing the earlier events as isolated incidents. The light columns, the fire, the earthquake, the sounds, the clouds. They stopped being separate mysteries. They started being a sequence. And when the stone slab was excavated 3 days later, the one that predicted fire and trumpet in that exact order, the sequence gained context. These weren't random events. They were stages, announcements, warnings, revelations. And Florida was the starting point for something that would soon spread across the entire nation. Because what happened next didn't stay in Florida. It moved, it expanded, it multiplied. From Texas to Ohio, from California to Tennessee, the phenomena didn't decrease, they escalated. And the pattern that began in one state became a blueprint for what would unfold across all 50. But before we track that expansion, we need to understand what that stone slab actually said, what those ancient carvers knew, what message they buried in the Everglades 3,000 years ago. Because the inscription didn't just predict what had already happened, it predicted what was coming next. The stone slab measured 8 feet 3 inches in length, 3 feet 7 inches in width, 14 inches thick at the edges, tapering to 11 inches at the center. Weight, approximately 1,840 pounds. The material, basalt, dense volcanic rock. Here's the problem. Florida has no basalt. The state's geology is limestone and sand. Basalt requires volcanic activity. The nearest natural basalt deposits are in the Appalachian Mountains, over 500 miles away. Someone transported nearly a ton of volcanic rock across hundreds of miles of prehistoric wilderness, then carved it with precision, then buried it in a swamp, 3,400 years ago. The initial excavation team treated it like a crime scene. Every layer of sediment documented, every tool mark photographed, every measurement recorded in triplicate. The slab had been deliberately placed in a prepared depression. The bottom was lined with a layer of clay, not native to that location, creating a moisture barrier. The slab rested on that barrier, then was covered with alternating layers of organic material and sand. Someone wanted this preserved, noted Dr. Helena Voss, the lead archaeologist. This wasn't just buried, it was packaged for long-term storage, like a time capsule.
But who packages a time capsule to be opened by an earthquake? The carvings covered the entire top surface, deep grooves, some as much as 2 inches into the stone, carved with tools that shouldn't have existed in North America 3 millennia ago. Metal tools, precision cutting implements. The groove edges showed marks consistent with iron or steel chisels, in an era when indigenous peoples were using stone and bone tools. The central image dominated the slab, a winged figure, approximately 4 feet tall in the carving. The detail was extraordinary. Individual feathers visible on the wings, facial features clearly defined, robes with fold patterns, hands gripping a horn-shaped instrument pressed to the figure's lips, the trumpet. Surrounding the figure, a border of smaller carved scenes. To the left, stylized waves with flames rising from them, fire on water. To the right, geometric patterns suggesting structured light rising from horizontal lines, light columns emerging from the ocean. Above, circular forms with radiating lines, possibly the sun, possibly something else. Below, jagged lines indicating earth movement, the earthquake. And filling the remaining space, script, dense lines of text in a writing system that combined elements of several ancient languages but matched none exactly. The first translation breakthrough came from Dr. Yosef Mizrahi, a linguist specializing in Semitic languages. He identified approximately 40% of the symbols as early Phoenician. Another 30% resembled Proto-Canaanite script. The remaining 30% were unknown. But languages are flexible, he explained. They adapt, they merge. If Phoenician traders somehow reached Florida, and that's a massive if, they might have developed hybrid scripts incorporating local elements we're not familiar with. Working from the Phoenician base, cross-referencing with Hebrew, Aramaic, and other related languages, a team of 6 translators spent 9 days on the primary inscription. The text read, "When the pillars of light rise from the deep, the countdown begins. Fire will come where the sea kisses the shore. Then the trumpet will sound. The earth will shake in the place of waiting. What was hidden will emerge. The watchers will return to their stations. The choice will be presented, accept or refuse, restoration or judgment. The time between signs grows shorter. What was bound at the river will be loosed. 4 voices will call from the ancient waters. The mountain of desire will be revealed. Nations will gather for what they cannot possess. Then the skies will tear. Then the returning. Then the 1,000 years of teaching. Then the final test. Then eternal division." The translation wasn't perfect. Some words had multiple possible meanings. Some phrases were ambiguous, but the core message was clear. This wasn't a historical record. It was a prophecy, a sequence of events, a timeline. And the first 4 stages had already occurred, in order, in the exact locations described. Dr. Voss stood in the archaeology tent, staring at the translation printout. "This is impossible," she said quietly. "Even if we grant that some ancient culture carved this, which raises 1,000 questions, how did they know these specific events would occur in these specific places 3,000 years ago?" Unless, suggested Dr. Mizrahi, they weren't predicting, they were recording instructions, a schedule that would be followed when the time came. Followed by whom? Nobody answered that question, but the implications hung heavy in the humid Florida air. The slab was moved to a climate-controlled facility at the University of Florida. More experts arrived, more tests were conducted. Carbon-14 dating of organic material embedded in the grooves, 1380 BCE, plus or minus 40 years, multiple labs, consistent results. Geological analysis of the basalt, volcanic origin, mineral composition matching sources in the northeastern United States, consistent with Appalachian formation.
Tool mark analysis, metal implements consistent with iron or steel composition. Every test confirmed the same impossible conclusion. This artifact was ancient, it was authentic, and it described recent events with perfect accuracy. The university wanted to publish, academic journals wanted papers, museums wanted exhibitions, but then the federal government stepped in. On July 24th, 2 representatives from the Department of the Interior arrived at the university. They were accompanied by 3 individuals who didn't identify their agency affiliation. The stone slab was declared a matter of national security interest. Further public disclosure was postponed pending additional investigation. The academic team was asked, not forced but strongly encouraged, to limit public statements until a comprehensive report could be compiled. Dr. Voss protested. This was an archaeological find of global significance. It belonged in public discourse, not classified files. The unidentified representatives made a simple argument. If this artifact is genuine, and if its predictions are accurate, then the remaining text describes future events that could affect national stability. We need to understand what we're dealing with before creating public panic. Translation: they believed it, and that terrified them. Because the inscription didn't end with the earthquake, the translation continued. Several members of the translation team kept working privately. They continued deciphering the remaining text, the portions that described what would happen next. According to those later translations, here's what the prophecy said would follow. The rivers will speak in blood, not death, but announcement. The ancient waters will recede, revealing what was meant to stay hidden. 4 angels bound at the great river will sense their release approaching. The trumpet sounds will multiply, heard in 7 regions. The sky will display its glory in places not accustomed to such light. The earth will shake where firmness was promised. The sea will rise in one place and recede in another. Electronic voices will fall silent. The mountain of gold will surface where waters once ran deep. Nations will send their young men to claim it. Most will not return. The sky will burn with fire from the sun. Shadows will flee at midday. The strong will collapse, then the darkening. 3 days of confusion, 3 days of fear. Then the light returns, but different. The veil thins. What was hidden becomes visible. The choice point arrives. The text then became fragmentary. Words were missing. Symbols were weathered beyond recognition. But occasional phrases came through. Gathering of armies where the 2 rivers meet. 7 nations cross the dried waters. Fire falls from heaven like rain. Those who see and those who are blind. The 1,000 years of mercy. Final separation. This translation has not been made public. Only a handful of people have seen it. But copies exist, and those copies have been shared with religious leaders, with government officials, with select academics. And many of them are quietly preparing, not for an earthquake or unusual weather, but for something far more comprehensive. A sequence that, if the stone is accurate, has barely begun. But here's what troubled Dr. Mizrahi more than the predictions themselves. It was the perspective of the text. This wasn't written as a warning, he noted. It was written as an itinerary, like someone documenting a planned sequence of events. The tone is matter-of-fact, clinical. This will happen, then this, then this. There's no emotion, no plea for repentance, no call to action, just a schedule. It reads like a countdown that was set in motion a long time ago and is now simply executing. That perspective raised the most disturbing question of all. If this is a schedule, who set it? Who is following it? And can it be altered? Or is everything that's about to happen inevitable? The stone offers no answer to those questions, but it does offer one final piece of information, a detail carved in smaller text along the bottom edge, so small it was almost missed in initial documentation. A date. Not in any modern calendar system, but using astronomical references, positions of stars, lunar cycles that can be calculated backward and forward. Dr. Mizrahi and an astronomer worked for 3 days on the calculation. When they finished, they sat in silence for a long time. The date carved in the stone,
translated to the Gregorian calendar, September 23, 2025, 68 days from when the stone was discovered. The inscription next to that date consisted of 3 words in Proto-Canaanite script: "The gathering begins." No explanation, no clarification, just those 3 words and a date: September 23rd, 68 days, or as of now, depending on when you're watching this, significantly fewer. What happens on that date? The stone doesn't say, or if it does, that portion is too damaged to translate. But based on the pattern, based on everything that's already occurred in perfect alignment with the earlier predictions, there's no reason to believe that date is symbolic. It appears to be literal, a specific day when something specific happens. The gathering begins. Who gathers? Where? For what purpose? The stone slab sits in a secure facility, armed guards, climate control, limited access, and a growing number of people who wished it had never been found.
Because ignorance is easier than knowledge, when knowledge reveals you're part of a timeline you didn't agree to. But the stone wasn't found by accident. The earthquake that revealed it wasn't random. The sequence that began with light columns and fire on water and trumpet sounds wasn't coincidence. It was orchestrated, planned, executed with precision. And Florida was just the opening act. Because while experts debated the stone's authenticity, while government officials classified reports, while academics argued over translations, the phenomena spread. Texas, July 18th, 11:34 p.m. A rancher outside Abilene was checking his property before bed. Clear night, temperature in the low 70s, no wind. His cattle were restless, moving in circles, but he attributed it to coyotes in the area. Then he heard it, a low tone, deep, resonant, rolling across the landscape like audible pressure. He described it later as the sound of God clearing his throat. It lasted maybe 30 seconds, long enough for him to pull out his phone and start recording, long enough for his cattle to stop moving entirely, every animal frozen in place, heads turned toward the southwest, long enough for the sound to be heard across a 40-mile radius. Emergency dispatch in Abilene received 47 calls in 8 minutes. Same description, deep horn sound, no identifiable source. All calls came from the western part of Taylor County. The sound stopped. The cattle resumed normal behavior. The night returned to silence. But phones across the region were lighting up. Social media posts, neighborhood message boards, everyone asking the same question. What was that? No answer came, no official explanation, no weather service acknowledgement. Just thousands of people who heard something they couldn't explain. And they weren't alone. The same night, nearly the same time, accounting for time zones, similar sounds were reported in Zanesville, Ohio, 12:41 a.m., Nashville, Tennessee, 12:38 a.m., Pierre, South Dakota, 11:36 p.m. Different states, same phenomenon, same duration, same description. Deep, low, horn-like, coming from everywhere and nowhere. But Ohio had something additional, something that made the sound secondary to what people saw. A man named Robert Chen was driving on State Route 60 outside Zanesville when he heard the sound. He pulled over, got out of his car, trying to identify the source. That's when he noticed the trees. A line of oaks along the roadside, maybe 30 trees total. They were moving, swaying violently, branches whipping back and forth like they were caught in a hurricane. But the air was completely still. Chen held up his hand. No wind. He checked his car. No breeze. The grass at his feet wasn't moving. His clothes weren't rustling. But 30 oak trees were bending and swaying like they were about to snap. He filmed it,
90 seconds of footage showing trees in violent motion while everything else remained perfectly calm. When the sound stopped, the trees stopped instantly. No gradual settling, just immediate stillness as if someone had pressed pause. Chen's video was shared 11,000 times in the first hour. Skeptics called it fake. Experts couldn't explain it. Meteorologists had no data showing wind activity in that location at that time. The trees had responded to something, but not wind. The sound. What kind of sound makes trees move but leaves the air undisturbed? That question went unanswered, but the phenomena continued. Tennessee, July 20th. The Harpeth River runs through Williamson County, feeding into the Cumberland River system. It's a clean waterway, popular with kayakers, known for its clear water and healthy fish population. On the morning of July 20th, residents along the river awoke to something that shouldn't exist. The water was red. Not murky, not brown from sediment. Red. Deep crimson red, the color of arterial blood. Emergency calls flooded in. Environmental teams responded immediately, expecting a chemical spill, industrial runoff, catastrophic pollution event. They tested the water. pH, normal. Chemical composition, normal. No toxins, no pollutants, no industrial contamination, no algae bloom, no bacterial presence explaining the color. The water was chemically identical to its normal state, except it was red. Fish were found floating dead along a 3-mile stretch, but necropsy showed no poisoning, no disease, no oxygen deprivation. Their organs were healthy. They had simply stopped living, as if the water itself had become incompatible with life, despite testing as perfectly normal water. The red color lasted 6 hours. Then, between 2 p.m. and 2:30 p.m., it faded. Witnesses described it as bleeding out, the color gradually diluting, dispersing, vanishing as if it had never been. By 3 p.m., the Harpeth River ran clear again. New tests showed normal water composition. Fish upstream and downstream were healthy and active. But the dead fish remained. Physical evidence that something had happened. Something that water analysis couldn't detect. One environmental scientist off the record said, "We're testing for chemistry. Whatever did this wasn't chemical. It was something else. Something we don't have instruments for." Rivers turning blood red with no chemical explanation, trees moving without wind, trumpet sounds with no source. The pattern wasn't random anymore. It was systematic, it was spreading, and it was following the script. The stone slab mentioned blood in rivers, not death, but announcement, the translation had read.
The fish died. But the message wasn't about killing fish. It was about demonstrating that something could change the fundamental nature of water without changing its chemistry. Something operating outside the rules we use to measure reality. California, July 22nd, 6:18 a.m. A 5.2 magnitude earthquake struck near San Diego. Significant, but not catastrophic. California has earthquakes. This is expected. Except for one detail. The seismic wave pattern was identical to the Florida earthquake. Not similar, identical. Dr. Patricia Keene, seismologist at UC San Diego, pulled up both readings. She overlaid the waveforms. Perfect match. Earthquakes are unique, she explained to her colleagues, like fingerprints. The wave patterns depend on fault structure, rock composition, depth, rupture dynamics. No two earthquakes produce identical wave signatures. These two did. She ran the analysis 3 times, same result. The Florida earthquake on July 5th and the California earthquake on July 22nd showed wave patterns that matched within 99.7% accuracy, as if the same event had happened twice in different locations, as if the earthquakes weren't caused by geological stress, but by something else, something reproducible, something deliberate. Dr. Keene wrote a paper on it, submitted it to the Journal of Geophysical Research. It's been in peer review for 2 weeks with no response, because nobody knows what to do with data that suggests earthquakes can be identical, that implies they can be controlled. And if they can be controlled, someone is controlling them. But the earthquakes weren't the only thing multiplying. The celestial phenomena were spreading too. Aurora borealis, northern lights, typically visible only in northern latitudes, Alaska, Canada, Scandinavia, occasionally dipping south during strong solar storms, visible from the northern United States, but never in Texas, never in Arkansas, never in Mississippi, until late July. On the night of July 26th, residents across the southern United States witnessed something unprecedented. Aurora borealis, brilliant, vivid, dancing lights in the night sky, green, purple, red, blue, curtains of color rippling across the heavens from horizon to horizon. In Houston, in Little Rock, in Jackson, in Birmingham. NOAA's Space Weather Prediction Center scrambled to explain it. They checked solar activity. Yes, there had been a coronal mass ejection 3 days earlier. Yes, it had triggered geomagnetic storms. But the modeling didn't support auroras this far south. The solar wind intensity wasn't sufficient. The magnetic field interactions weren't strong enough. Yet millions of people watched the lights dance and photographed them and posted them online. The auroras lasted 43 minutes, then faded. Exactly 43 minutes, the same duration as the Florida earthquake. Someone noticed that, posted it. The observations spread. 43 minutes, 43 seconds, recurring numbers across multiple events. Pattern hunters started cataloging everything, looking for numerical connections, finding them everywhere. The light columns lasted 6 minutes, 17 seconds. 6 plus 17 equals 23. The fire on water burned for 19 minutes. 19 reversed is 91. 91 divided by 7 equals 13. 13 plus 10 equals 23. September 23rd, date on the stone slab. The connections became obsessive, people finding 23 in everything. And once you look for a number, you find it everywhere. Confirmation bias and overdrive. But some patterns weren't imaginary. The phenomena were occurring in clusters, 7-day cycles, event clusters on July 1, 8, 15, 22, 29. Every 7 days, multiple phenomena, different locations, but always on the 7-day mark, as if whoever was following 10:49 a.m. The schedule operated on a 7-day rhythm. 7, the number of completion in biblical numerology. 7 days of creation, 7 seals, 7 trumpets, 7 bowls of wrath. Whether the 7-day pattern was intentional or coincidental, it reinforced the perception that something organized was unfolding. And perception at this scale becomes its own reality. Millions of people watching, waiting, anticipating what would happen on the next 7-day mark. August 5th. The phenomena didn't disappoint. Multiple events across the nation. Montana, witnesses reported seeing figures in the clouds during sunset, not vague shapes, structured forms, described consistently as tall, winged, positioned as if watching the earth below. Photos were taken. Debunkers called them pareidolia. Believers called them angels. Michigan, Lake Superior experienced unexplained turbulence. No storm, no seismic activity, but waves reaching 15 feet in height, localized to a specific area, lasting 12 minutes, then calming instantly. Arizona, temperature anomaly in Phoenix. At 3 p.m., the temperature dropped from 104 degrees F to 87 degrees F in 90 seconds. No weather front, no cloud cover, just sudden, dramatic cooling. Then, 4 minutes later, temperatures returned to normal. Virginia, hundreds of birds, starlings, crows, grackles, fell from the sky simultaneously. Not sick, not poisoned, they simply died mid-flight and dropped. Necropsies showed no cause of death. Healthy birds that stopped living. 7-day mark. Multiple phenomena, expanding geographic range. The pattern was undeniable now. This wasn't isolated incidents. It wasn't coincidence. It wasn't mass hysteria. Something was happening across the United States. Something systematic. Something that respected no natural laws and offered no explanations through conventional investigation. And every event matched elements described in that ancient stone prophecy. Rivers turning red, check. Trumpet sounds in 7 regions, ongoing. Sky displaying glory in unexpected places, confirmed. Earth shaking where firmness was promised, California. Electronic anomalies started being reported in early August. GPS failures, power fluctuations, radio disruptions. The sequence was progressing. But the most troubling element wasn't what had happened, it was what the prophecy said would happen next. The ancient waters will recede, revealing what was meant to stay hidden. Ancient waters, plural. Not just one river, multiple ancient rivers. And across the globe, rivers were beginning to dry up. Not slowly, not from drought alone, but dramatically, rapidly. The Euphrates, the Yangtze, the Po River in Italy, the Rhine, the Colorado. Water levels dropping to historic lows, riverbeds exposing structures that hadn't been seen in centuries or millennia. And in one location, something was found that would make the Florida stone slab seem insignificant by comparison.
Space weather. Most people don't think about it. The sun is just there, constant, reliable, a ball of fusion that provides light and warmth. But the sun is violent. It's a roiling mass of nuclear reactions, magnetic fields, and explosive energy releases. And when it directs that energy toward Earth, consequences follow. NASA has been watching the sun closely since early 2024. The current solar cycle, cycle 25, has been more active than predicted. More sunspots, more solar flares, more coronal mass ejections. But what happened in late July wasn't just active, it was targeted. July 28th, 4:16 a.m. UTC. A massive solar flare erupted from sunspot region AR3751, X-class flare, the most powerful category. The flare released energy equivalent to billions of nuclear bombs. That alone wasn't unprecedented. X-class flares happened several times per solar cycle, but this flare did something unusual. The plasma ejecta, the burst of charged particles hurled into space, was tightly focused. Normally, CMEs expand outward in a broad arc. This one formed a narrow column, like a rifle shot fired directly at Earth. Dr. Ramon Silva at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center watched the data come in. He'd studied solar physics for 26 years. He'd never seen a CME with this geometry. "It's like the sun aimed," he said to his team. The plasma burst traveled at 2,100 kilometers per second, fast even for a CME. Impact with Earth's magnetosphere was calculated for July 30th, approximately 6 p.m. EDT. Warnings went out. Power companies put grids on alert. Satellite operators prepared for possible disruptions. Airlines rerouted polar flights, standard procedure for major solar storms. But Dr. Silva couldn't shake the feeling that something was different about this one. The impact came precisely on schedule, 6:03 p.m. EDT. Earth's magnetosphere compressed, aurora displays erupted across the northern hemisphere. Beautiful, violent, spectacular. But this time, the auroras weren't just northern. They appeared simultaneously in northern Canada, Iceland, Norway, and southern Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, all of Florida, parts of Georgia and Alabama. The southern auroras weren't faint, they were brilliant, rivaling the intensity of Arctic displays, colors most people had never seen in person, deep crimson reds, electric purples, shimmering golds. Millions of people stepped outside and looked up at a sky transformed into a canvas of moving light. But beauty has a cost. The geomagnetic storm caused cascading failures across multiple systems. Power grids, localized blackouts in Quebec, Ontario, and parts of the northeastern United States. Not catastrophic, not long-lasting, but 340,000 people lost power for periods ranging from 12 minutes to 3 hours. GPS systems. Civilian GPS experienced accuracy degradation, navigation errors of up to 50 meters. Military GPS remained functional but showed unusual drift patterns. Radio communications. HF radio bands experienced total blackout for 40 minutes. Air traffic control had to switch to alternative frequencies. Emergency services communications degraded. Satellites. 17 satellites in low Earth orbit experienced temporary malfunctions. Most recovered, 2 remained non-responsive and are considered total losses. All of this was expected, unfortunate but predictable consequences of a major geomagnetic storm. But what wasn't expected was the pattern. The power outages occurred in a specific sequence, starting in Montreal, then jumping to Boston, then Philadelphia, then Washington, D.C., then Charlotte, then Atlanta. Not spreading gradually, jumping in discrete steps, south along the I-95 corridor, as if something was moving down the East Coast, disrupting power infrastructure as it traveled. The outages lasted exactly 43 minutes in each city. Then power restored, then the phenomenon jumped to the next city south. By the time it reached Miami, the pattern was obvious. This wasn't random cascade failure from electromagnetic induction. This was sequential, deliberate. Dr. Ellen Cho, grid infrastructure analyst for the Department of Energy, pulled the data. She mapped the outages, perfect linear progression, perfect time intervals. She wrote a classified report stating, "The failure pattern is inconsistent with natural geomagnetic storm effects. The sequence suggests external manipulation of grid systems or a phenomenon capable of targeting specific infrastructure nodes in a predetermined order." That report is still classified, but copies leaked, and the implications spread through certain communities online. The solar storm wasn't just a natural event, it was being used, guided, directed. And if the sun could be weaponized, or if solar events could be predicted and exploited with precision, then whoever had that capability held power beyond comprehension.
But the solar storm was just the opening. 3 days later, something happened that made scientists question fundamental physics. August 2nd, 1:47 p.m., Nevada desert. A research team from UNLV was conducting atmospheric studies when their instruments detected something impossible. Temperature spike, localized, extreme. In a radius approximately 400 meters across, the air temperature jumped from 97 degrees Fahrenheit to 183 degrees Fahrenheit in under 2 minutes. Nothing was on fire. No explosion had occurred. No energy source was present. The heat appeared spontaneously, peaked, and began dissipating.
The research team was 3 miles away. They watched their instruments spike. They confirmed the readings multiple times. They checked for equipment malfunction. Everything was working correctly. The temperature spike was real. One researcher, Dr. James Okafor, drove toward the location to investigate. As he approached, his vehicle's dashboard display showed external temperature climbing rapidly. 110 degrees Fahrenheit, 125 degrees Fahrenheit, 140 degrees Fahrenheit. At 155 degrees, he stopped. The heat was radiating through his vehicle despite air conditioning running at maximum. He recorded thermal imaging video showing a visible heat shimmer in the air ahead, a column of superheated atmosphere extending from ground level to approximately 2,000 feet altitude. No fire, no combustion, just heat. Pure, spontaneous heat. The phenomenon lasted 11 minutes. Then the temperature dropped rapidly, returning to ambient desert heat within 3 minutes. When Dr. Okafor reached the epicenter, he found no burn marks, no evidence of fire. The vegetation was undamaged. The ground showed no scorching. But his thermal camera showed residual heat patterns. And the pattern formed a shape, a circle, approximately 400 meters in diameter, perfectly round. Inside that circle, something had released tremendous thermal energy without combustion, without leaving physical evidence, without any known mechanism for generating that level of heat. Dr. Okafor collected soil samples. Later analysis showed unusual crystalline structures in the sand, similar to trinitite, the glassified sand created by nuclear explosions. But there was no radiation, no fallout, no blast effects, just heat. Intense, localized, inexplicable heat. The research team wrote a report, submitted it to the Journal of Atmospheric Sciences. It was rejected. Insufficient explanation for described phenomena. Please resubmit with corrected data or revised conclusions. The data wasn't wrong. The conclusions were just impossible to accept. So the report went unpublished. But the data exists, and other researchers have seen it. And they've noticed something. The location where the heat spike occurred, those GPS coordinates, align with something significant. It's a direct line, exactly aligned, from that Nevada location to Jerusalem, a perfectly straight line across the globe. That alignment might be coincidence, but when you're tracking patterns, when you're watching phenomena that shouldn't exist, when you're seeing sequences that match ancient prophecies, coincidence becomes suspicious. The stone slab had mentioned fire from the sun. The sky will burn with fire from the sun. Shadows will flee at midday. The strong will collapse. Fire from the sun, solar flares, geomagnetic storms, heat appearing from empty air. The pieces were connecting, the sequence was advancing, and then came the darkness. August 9th, 2:33 a.m., Pacific Northwest. Seattle experienced a power outage. Not unusual, infrastructure issues happen. But this outage was different. It wasn't caused by equipment failure. It wasn't caused by the solar storm. All systems showed as functional. Grid connections were intact. Power was flowing. The lights just stopped working. For 17 minutes, a 6-block radius in downtown Seattle was completely dark. Street lights off, building lights off, vehicle headlights, even those, stopped producing light. People reported their phones dying. Not battery depletion, the phones had charge, they just stopped functioning. Screens went black, no power, no response. Flashlights didn't work, emergency lighting didn't activate, even battery-powered devices ceased functioning. Total darkness. Not darkness because power was out, darkness because light itself had stopped working. Witnesses described it as oppressive, heavy, wrong. The darkness felt physical, dense, like it had weight. And in that darkness, people reported hearing sounds, whispers, movement, footsteps on empty streets. At 2:50 a.m., light returned. Instantly, all systems functioned, phones powered back on, streetlights illuminated. No explanation was ever provided. Seattle City Light investigated, found no faults, no anomalies, no reason for the blackout. But 400 people experienced it. They know what they saw, or rather what they didn't see. Total darkness in a modern city with no power failure, as if light itself had been turned off. The stone prophecy mentioned darkening, then the darkening, 3 days of confusion, 3 days of fear. The Seattle event lasted 17 minutes, not 3 days. But what if it was a preview, a demonstration, showing that darkness could be imposed, that light could be removed, that the rules we depend on, physics, electricity, causality, could be suspended? If 17 minutes of localized darkness could terrify 400 people, what would 3 days of global darkness do to 7 billion?
These weren't questions anyone wanted to answer, but they were questions that needed to be asked. Because the celestial warnings weren't just about the sun. They were about what the sun could reveal, or hide, or penetrate. The veil between visible and invisible was getting thinner, and something on the other side was preparing to step through. 6,000 miles from Florida, another revelation was emerging, one that would connect ancient prophecy to modern crisis in ways nobody anticipated. The Euphrates River, one of the longest rivers in Western Asia, the lifeblood of Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization. It appears in the first pages of the Bible. Genesis 2:14 describes it as one of 4 rivers flowing from Eden. It runs through the earliest human stories, the Tower of Babel, Abraham's journey, the Babylonian Empire. And in Revelation 16:12, it appears again. The 6th angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up to prepare the way for the kings from the east. For centuries, that verse was symbolic, metaphorical. The Euphrates is massive, 1,740 miles long, fed by mountain snowmelt, supporting millions of people. It couldn't just dry up, except it is. Turkey, Syria, and Iraq have been facing severe drought since 2020. But what's happening now goes beyond drought. The Euphrates is disappearing at a rate that hydrologists can't explain with climate data alone. Water levels have dropped by 75% in some areas. Sections that once required boats to cross are now wadable. Ancient settlements that had been submerged for centuries are emerging from the mud. And in one of those settlements, something was found. Late July 2025, near the ancient city of Carchemish on the Turkey-Syria border, a team of archaeologists was documenting newly exposed structures. The receding waters had revealed foundations, walls, remnants of a civilization that had been underwater since the Burachek Dam was constructed in 2000. Standard archaeological work: document, photograph, catalog. But one of the team members, a graduate student named Aisha Kara, noticed something unusual. A stone structure, square, each side approximately 15 meters, walls still intact, rising 3 meters above the riverbed. But it wasn't the structure that caught her attention. It was the entrance. A sealed doorway. Massive stone blocks fitted together with such precision that a knife blade couldn't slide between them. No mortar, no cement, just perfectly shaped stones locked in place. And carved above the entrance, script, ancient cuneiform, Akkadian language. The translation came quickly. Akkadian is well understood. The inscription read, "That which was bound in the deep now strains against its chains. Do not open, do not enter. What sleeps here must not wake." Dr. Mehmet Özkan, the team leader, photographed the inscription. He ordered the structure documented, but not disturbed. This was a significant find. It required proper excavation protocols, government permissions, academic oversight. But word spread quickly. Within days, the site was overrun. Not by archaeologists, by treasure hunters, by fanatics, by people who believed the structure contained something valuable or powerful or prophetic. Local authorities tried to secure the site, but the region is unstable. Multiple factions claim territory. Government control is nominal at best. On August 4th, someone breached the entrance. Not carefully, not archaeologically, they used explosives to break the seal. The blast was heard for miles. When the smoke cleared, the entrance was open. The perfectly fitted stones were rubble. Turkish military arrived within hours. They found the entrance chamber empty. No treasure, no artifacts, just carved stone walls and a descending staircase. The staircase spiraled downward, 63 steps, worn smooth by ancient feet, leading to a lower chamber. A chamber that shouldn't exist, because the lower chamber was below the riverbed, below the water table. It should have been flooded, but it was dry, completely dry. No moisture, no seepage, as if the water couldn't enter even though it surrounded the structure on all sides. Military reconnaissance entered the lower chamber with cameras and lights. That footage was recorded. That footage is classified. But soldiers talk. According to those reports, the chamber contained 4 alcoves. Each alcove held a stone statue. Humanoid figures, but wrong proportions. Too tall, 7 feet at minimum. Arms too long, fingers too many. Wings carved in relief on their backs. And chains. Actual metal chains, corroded with age, wrapped around each statue from neck to base. And in the center of the altar, an altar, carved with more cuneiform text, and on that altar, a sealed vessel, clay, unbroken, sealed with bitumen and stamped with symbols that matched no known Mesopotamian culture. The military team photographed everything. They removed the vessel. They withdrew from the structure. Within 12 hours, the chamber was resealed. Concrete was poured into the entrance. The site was declared off-limits. A military perimeter was established. But the vessel was gone, removed to an undisclosed location for analysis. And that's where the story gets complicated. Because 2 days after the vessel was removed, people in the surrounding area began reporting sounds.
Deep sounds, coming from underground, rhythmic, like heartbeats or breathing. At first, authorities dismissed it as seismic activity, settling Earth after the explosives. But the sounds continued, and they didn't sound geological. They sounded alive. Local residents began evacuating voluntarily, not because they were ordered to, because they were terrified. The sounds were accompanied by feelings, overwhelming dread, irrational fear, conviction that something hostile was present. Elderly residents recalled old stories, tales passed down through generations, stories about the deep places in the earth where ancient things were imprisoned, things that served the old gods, things that rebelled and were chained. 4 angels bound at the great river Euphrates, Revelation 9:14-15. Release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. So the 4 angels who had been prepared for the hour and day and month and year were released. Most scholars had interpreted that passage symbolically. 4 angels representing judgments, the Euphrates representing a geopolitical boundary. But what if it was literal? What if something actually was bound at the Euphrates? What if the drying river was part of the sequence, the release mechanism? The vessel removed from the chamber was transported to a research facility in Ankara. A team of experts, archaeologists, linguists, materials scientists, began analysis. The clay was dated. approximately 4,200 years old. The seal was intact. The vessel had never been opened. The symbols stamped into the wax seal were identified as Akkadian protective wards, symbols meant to contain, to bind, to prevent escape. One linguist, Dr. Leila Arslan, translated the primary symbol. It read, "May this binding hold until the appointed hour. May those who break it bear the weight of what is released." The team debated opening the vessel. Half argued for scientific curiosity, half argued for caution. Dr. Ozkan, who had led the original site team, urged restraint. "We don't know what we're dealing with. That chamber was sealed for 4,000 years. Someone went to extraordinary lengths to keep whatever this is contained. Maybe we should respect that." But on August 9th, the decision was made by higher authority. The vessel would be opened under controlled conditions, documented, analyzed. The opening was scheduled for August 12th, 10 a.m. local time. But on August 10th, something happened that changed everything. The sounds from the Euphrates site stopped. The deep rhythmic vibrations that had been continuous for 6 days ceased completely. At the exact moment they stopped, seismographs across the region detected something unusual. Not an earthquake, a vibration, low frequency, spreading outward from the Euphrates site in concentric rings, like a signal, like a broadcast. And 3,000 miles away in Nevada, Dr. O'Coffer's research team detected an answering signal, same frequency, same pattern, as if the Nevada Desert Heat Anomaly site had responded to the Euphrates vibration, as if two locations were communicating, coordinating. On August 11th, one day before the scheduled opening of the vessel, satellite imagery showed something new at the Euphrates site. The water wasn't just receding, it was avoiding the area, flowing around a specific section as if an invisible barrier existed, creating an island of dry land where rivers should be. In the center of that dry land, the sealed structure. Concrete cracked, broken, pushed aside from within. Something had broken out of the chamber. Turkish military returned to the site on August 12th. They found the concrete barrier shattered outward, the entrance open, the staircase exposed. They descended with caution, found the lower chamber, found the 4 alcoves. The chains were broken, the statues were gone. Or rather, they had never been statues. They had been prisons, shells, containers, and now they were empty. Whatever had been bound there for 4 millennia was free, and the vessel scheduled to be opened that morning? When researchers arrived at the Ankara facility, they found the laboratory door sealed from the inside, all electronic locks engaged, all manual overrides non-functional. Through the observation window, they could see the containment chamber, and they could see the vessel, still sealed, but glowing, faint, pulsing with internal light, as if something inside knew it was almost time. The vessel has not been opened. It remains in that chamber. Guards rotate every 4 hours because longer shifts cause psychological effects, anxiety, paranoia, auditory hallucinations. And every day, the glow intensifies slightly, measurably. Whatever is inside is waking up. The Euphrates continues to dry. More structures emerge, more ancient sites are exposed, and with each exposure, more evidence accumulates that something vast was buried in this region, something that spans cultures and centuries, something that all ancient civilizations, Sumerian, Akkadian, Babylonian, Assyrian, agreed must stay hidden until the appointed hour. Revelation 16:12. Its water was dried up to prepare the way for the kings from the east. The river is drying, the way is being prepared. But prepared for what? For whom? The stone slab in Florida mentioned this. What was bound at the river will be loosed.
4 voices will call from the ancient waters.
4 alcoves, 4 statues, 4 chains broken, 4 angels, or 4 demons, or 4 something else that ancient people could only describe using their limited vocabulary. Whatever they were, they're free now, and the prophecy suggests they have a role to play in what comes next. But here's the truly terrifying part. The Euphrates site isn't the only one. Reports are coming in from other ancient rivers, the Tigris, the Nile, the Indus, all experiencing unusual water level drops, all exposing ancient structures, all revealing sites that show evidence of deliberate concealment, as if a global network of containment sites was established thousands of years ago. Different cultures, different languages, different religious systems, but the same purpose: bind what must not be free, seal what must not emerge. And now, all at once, across the globe, the seals are breaking, the waters are receding, the prisons are opening, the bound are being loosed. And nobody knows what comes next, because the ancient texts that describe what was bound also describe what happens when they're freed. Destruction, chaos, a third of mankind killed. Unless what? The texts are unclear. Unless someone intervenes, unless something prevents the full sequence. But who has that authority? Who can reverse a process that was set in motion before recorded history? The stone slab offers a hint. The choice will be presented: accept or refuse, restoration or judgment. A choice. That implies agency. That suggests the outcome isn't predetermined. But a choice requires knowledge. And right now, humanity is operating blind, watching events unfold, reacting, not understanding. The ancient people who sealed these sites understood something. They knew what they were containing. They knew why it mattered. They knew the cost of release. That knowledge was preserved in texts, in warnings, in prophecies scattered across cultures. Maybe it's time to stop dismissing those warnings as primitive superstition. Maybe it's time to recognize that ancient people weren't stupid. They were experienced. They had encountered something, and they left instructions. Instructions we're only now beginning to understand. Too late to prevent the sequence, but maybe, just maybe, not too late to influence how it ends. Step back. Look at the whole picture, because when you map everything that's happened, every event, every phenomenon, every discovery, a pattern emerges. Not random chaos, not isolated incidents, a sequence, a timeline, a countdown, and it's moving faster than anyone wants to admit. Start with what we know for certain. Documented events, verified by multiple sources, captured on camera, recorded by instruments. July 1, 2025. Light columns rise from the Atlantic Ocean off Florida's coast. Duration: 6 minutes, 17 seconds. No natural explanation. July 3. Fire burns on salt water near Miami Beach. Duration: 19 minutes. No fuel source detected. July 5. Earthquake strikes Ocala, Florida. Magnitude 4.1. Seismic wave pattern identical to Florida earthquake. Statistically impossible coincidence. July 26. Red atmosphere over central Florida. Trumpet sound heard across 7 counties. Angel-shaped cloud formations appear simultaneously across 200-mile radius. That's the first wave. 5 days, 5 major phenomena, all in Florida, all matching descriptions on the stone slab that had been buried for 3,400 years. Then the expansion phase begins. July 18. Trumpet sounds reported in Texas. Same phenomenon spreads to Ohio, Tennessee, South Dakota. Trees move without wind in Zanesville. July 20th. Euphrates River in Tennessee turns blood red. No chemical explanation. Fish die with no detectable cause. July 22. Earthquake strikes Southern California, magnitude 5.2. Seismic wave pattern identical to Florida earthquake. Statistically impossible coincidence. July 26. Aurora borealis appears in southern United States, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, throughout Florida. Solar activity insufficient to explain southern extent. July 28. Major solar flare erupts. Tightly focused coronal mass ejection impacts Earth, July 30th. Power outages occur in sequential pattern down East Coast corridor. August 2. Spontaneous heat spike in Nevada desert. Temperature reaches 183 degrees Fahrenheit with no combustion source. Heat pattern forms perfect circle, 400 meters in diameter. August 4. Euphrates site breached. 4 sealed alcoves opened. Ancient containment structures empty. Chains broken from inside. August 5. Multiple phenomena across 7 states. 7-day cycle pattern confirmed. August 9. Localized darkness event in Seattle. Light stops functioning for 17 minutes despite no power failure. August 10. Euphrates site signals detected. Answering signal from Nevada location. Cross-continental communication between phenomenon sites. August 12. 4 statues missing from the Euphrates chamber. Sealed vessel in Ankara begins glowing with internal light. That's 33 major events in 42 days, an average of 1 significant event every 1.27 days. But the frequency is increasing. In the first week, 5 events. In the most recent week, 11 events. The acceleration is measurable, predictable, following an exponential curve. If the pattern continues, and every indication suggests it will, we're looking at multiple phenomena per day by late August, dozens per day by early September, and then comes September 23rd, the date carved on the stone slab. The gathering begins. 56 days from the first light columns, 84 days from now, depending on when you're watching this. But it's not just the frequency that matters, it's the pattern of escalation. The types of phenomena are progressing through stages. Stage 1, visual phenomena, light, fire, atmospheric effects, things people can see but not touch, demonstrations of presence without direct interaction. Stage 2, physical phenomena, earthquakes, temperature changes, water transformations, direct manipulation of physical reality, proof of capability. Stage 3, barrier dissolution, darkness events, electronic failures, GPS disruptions, the boundaries between dimensions thinning, the veil weakening. Stage 4, release, ancient seals breaking, bound entities freed, physical emergence of what was hidden. We're currently in Stage 4, and according to the prophecies, both the stone slab and biblical texts, Stage 4 leads directly to Stage 5, the gathering. What gathers? The texts use different terms: angels, armies, nations, powers, authorities, but they all describe the same thing: a convergence, a meeting point, a moment when all players arrive at the appointed place for the appointed purpose. Some texts describe it as war, some as judgment, some as harvest, some as separation, but they all agree it's definitive, final, the moment when choices become permanent and outcomes become inevitable. The biblical framework is explicit about this. Revelation describes it in sequence: 7 seals opened, 7 trumpets blown, 7 bowls poured out, each cycle bringing more intense phenomena, each stage narrowing the window for choice. Where are we in that sequence? Hard to say with certainty, but analysis suggests we're approaching the trumpet judgments. The 7 trumpets in Revelation 8-9 describe: first trumpet, hail and fire mixed with blood, a third of earth burned. Second trumpet, something like a mountain thrown into the sea, a third of the sea becomes blood, a third of the sea creatures die. Third trumpet, a great star falls from heaven, a third of the rivers become bitter, many people die. Fourth trumpet,
a third of the sun, moon, and stars struck, a third of the day has no light. Fifth trumpet, fallen star given key to the bottomless pit, smoke darkens the sun, locusts emerge to torment humanity. Sixth trumpet, 4 angels bound at the Euphrates released, an army of 200 million kills a third of mankind.
4 sealed alcoves opened, ancient containment structures found empty, chains broken from inside. Multiple phenomena across 7 states, 7-day cycle pattern confirmed. Localized darkness event in Seattle. Light stops functioning for 17 minutes despite no power failure. Euphrates sight signals detected. Answering signal from Nevada location. Cross-continental communication between phenomenon sites. 4 statues missing from Euphrates chamber. Sealed vessel in Ankara begins glowing with internal light. That's 33 major events in 42 days, average of 1 significant phenomenon every 1.27 days. But the frequency is increasing. In the first week, 5 events. In the most recent week, 11 events. The acceleration is measurable, predictable, following an exponential curve. If the pattern continues, and every indication suggests it will, we're looking at multiple phenomena per day by late August, dozens per day by early September. And then comes September 23rd, the date carved on the stone slab. The gathering begins. 56 days from the first light columns, 84 days from now, depending on when you're watching this. But it's not just the frequency that matters, it's the pattern of escalation. The types of phenomena are progressing through stages. Stage 1, visual phenomena, light, fire, atmospheric effects, things people can see but not touch, demonstrations of presence without direct interaction. Stage 2, physical phenomena, earthquakes, temperature changes, water transformations, direct manipulation of physical reality, proof of capability. Stage 3, barrier dissolution, darkness events, electronic failures, GPS disruptions, the boundaries between dimensions thinning, the veil weakening. Stage 4, release, ancient seals breaking, bound entities freed, physical emergence of what was hidden. We're currently in stage 4, and according to the prophecies, both the stone slab and biblical texts, stage 4 leads directly to stage 5. The gathering. What gathers? The texts use different terms: angels, armies, nations, powers, authorities. But they all describe the same thing, a convergence, a meeting point, a moment when all players arrive at the appointed place for the appointed purpose. Some texts describe it as war, some as judgment, some as harvest, some as separation. But they all agree it's definitive, final, the moment when choices become permanent and outcomes become inevitable. The biblical framework is explicit about this. Revelation describes it in sequence: 7 seals opened, 7 trumpets blown, 7 bowls poured out, each cycle bringing more intense phenomena, each stage narrowing the window for choice. Where are we in that sequence? Hard to say with certainty, but analysis suggests we're approaching the trumpet judgments. The 7 trumpets in Revelation 8-9 describe: first trumpet, hail and fire mixed with blood, a third of earth burned. Second trumpet, something like a mountain thrown into the sea, a third of sea becomes blood, a third of sea creatures die. Third trumpet, a great star falls from heaven, a third of rivers become bitter, many people die. Fourth trumpet, a third of sun, moon, and stars struck, a third of day has no light. Fifth trumpet, fallen star given key to the bottomless pit, smoke darkens the sun, locusts emerge to torment humanity. Sixth trumpet, 4 angels bound at Euphrates released, an army of 200 million kills a third of mankind. Seventh trumpet, God's kingdom proclaimed, lightning, thunder, earthquake, great hail.
Now compare that sequence to what we've already seen. Fire on water matches second trumpet description. Rivers turning red matches second and third trumpet elements. Darkness events matches fourth trumpet. Euphrates angels released literally matches sixth trumpet. The sequence is progressing, not perfectly linear, not exact matches, but the themes align, the pattern holds. And here's what troubles the analysts who are watching this. If we're already seeing sixth trumpet phenomena, the Euphrates release, then we've passed through most of the sequence, which means we're approaching the seventh trumpet, the final announcement, the point of no return.
Revelation 11:15 describes that moment. Then the seventh angel sounded, and there were loud voices in heaven, saying, "The kingdoms of this world have become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ, and he shall reign forever and ever." That verse marks the transition. Earth's current order ends. A new order begins. Authority changes hands. But between the sixth and seventh trumpets, there's an interlude. Revelation 10 describes it. A mighty angel appears. He holds a scroll. He declares, there should be delay no longer. Then he tells John to eat the scroll. It tastes sweet, but turns bitter. And John is told, you must prophesy again about many peoples, nations, tongues, and kings. That interlude represents a pause, a final moment for choice, a last chance for humanity to respond before the seventh trumpet sounds and the decision becomes permanent. Are we in that interlude now? Are these phenomena, the lights, the sounds, the signs, the scroll being presented to humanity, sweet to witness, miraculous, undeniable, but bitter in implication because they demand response, they require decision, accept or refuse, believe or deny, prepare or ignore? The stone slab said it directly. The choice will be presented one final time, not multiple times, not indefinitely, one final time. How long is that window? The texts don't specify. Revelation's interlude could be moments or months. The stone slab doesn't provide a timeline beyond September 23, but the acceleration suggests the window is short and closing faster than expected, because there's another pattern emerging, one that connects all the events through a different lens: geographic clustering. When you map the phenomena, they're not random globally. They concentrate in specific regions: southeastern United States, Florida as epicenter; Middle East, Euphrates River as focal point. Scattered sites in Nevada, Ohio, Tennessee, California. Now overlay that map with biblical geography, the significant locations in scriptural prophecy. Israel, the focal point of end times events. Multiple prophecies place final confrontations there. Babylon, ancient evil empire, Mesopotamia, the Euphrates region. Mystery Babylon, described in Revelation as a great city that rules over earth. Identity debated. Some say Rome, some say spiritual system, some say a future empire. Could Mystery Babylon be connected to the United States, specifically Florida? That interpretation is controversial, but the clustering is undeniable. The two most active phenomenon zones are the southeastern U.S. and the Middle East, the exact regions where biblical prophecy concentrates its focus for end times events. Coincidence or confirmation? There's another timeline running parallel to the phenomenon sequence, the geopolitical timeline. Because while lights flash and rivers dry and seals break, the world continues. Nations maneuver, conflicts escalate, alliances shift. And some of those developments align disturbingly well with prophetic predictions. Ezekiel 38 through 39 describes a future war. A coalition of nations attacks Israel. The coalition includes Magog, identified by many scholars as Russia, Persia, modern Iran, Kush, possibly Sudan or Ethiopia, Put, possibly Libya, Gomer and Beth Togarmah, possibly Turkey and surrounding regions. Current geopolitical reality, Russia, Iran, Turkey, and various regional actors are increasingly aligned in the Middle East conflicts. That coalition is forming in real time, right now. Ezekiel describes the war's outcome. God intervenes directly. The attacking armies are destroyed supernaturally. Fire and brimstone, earthquakes, confusion making soldiers turn on each other. After that war, Ezekiel says Israel will burn the enemy's weapons for 7 years. They'll bury the dead for 7 months, and the world will know that God acted. 7 years, 7 months, those numbers again. Is that war coming? The coalition exists. The tensions are escalating. The Euphrates, which runs through the heart of that region, is drying, removing a natural barrier. Revelation 16:12 says the Euphrates dries to prepare the way for the kings from the east. Kings from the east, eastern armies crossing dried river valleys, converging on Israel. The pieces are moving into position. The stage is being set. The timeline is advancing toward a convergence point, and that convergence point appears to be September 23rd or shortly after. What happens then? The stone slab says the gathering begins. Revelation says the armies gather at Armageddon, literally Har Megiddo, the hill of Megiddo in northern Israel. The final battle, the climactic confrontation, the moment when human history reaches its appointed conclusion. But here's the critical point. The battle isn't the end, it's the transition. What comes after Armageddon is what the prophecies really emphasize, not destruction for its own sake, but destruction as preparation for restoration. The old world system must end before the new world order, God's kingdom, can be established. That's the hope embedded in all the warning passages. That's the promise threaded through the judgment texts. This isn't about annihilation, it's about transformation, painful, catastrophic, unavoidable, but purposeful. Think of it as surgery. The patient is humanity. The disease is sin, rebellion, corruption. Surgery is violent. It involves cutting, blood, pain, but the purpose isn't harm, it's healing.
The phenomena we're witnessing, the signs, the warnings, the increasingly undeniable proofs, they're the anesthesia taking effect, putting humanity into a state where the necessary surgery can occur. We're not at the end, we're at the beginning of the end, yes, but also the beginning of something new, something better, something that couldn't exist until the old system was removed. The timeline isn't counting down to destruction, it's counting down to renovation, to restoration, to the fulfillment of promises made thousands of years ago. But the transition point is approaching fast. The window for choosing which side of that transition you'll be on is closing. September 23rd might be the date, or it might be the beginning of a season that extends weeks or months. But one thing is certain, the countdown started July 1st. The acceleration is measurable, the pattern is clear, and we're running out of time to decide what we believe about what's happening and what we'll do about it. Here's what you need to understand. Everything you've seen so far, every light, every sound, every impossible event, isn't punishment, not yet. It's warning. There's a difference, a crucial difference, and missing that difference means missing the entire point of what's unfolding. Think about a smoke alarm. It makes noise, loud, annoying, disruptive noise. You don't want to hear it, but you need to hear it, because the noise isn't the problem. The fire is the problem. The alarm is trying to save your life. These phenomena, they're alarms. They're warnings that something bigger is coming, something that will require a choice. And the time to make that choice is now, while the alarms are still just alarms, before the fire arrives.
The biblical God warns before he acts, always, without exception. Noah warned for 120 years while building an ark. People saw the construction, heard the message, chose to ignore it. Then the flood came, too late to choose. Sodom and Gomorrah, angels sent to warn Lot, given time to gather his family, offered escape. Then judgment fell. No warning during judgment. Warning came before. Nineveh, Jonah sent to prophesy destruction in 40 days. The city repented. Judgment was averted. The warning provided opportunity for response. Israel, multiple prophets over centuries, warning of coming exile, warning of coming Messiah, warning of coming kingdom. Some listened, most didn't. Consequences followed, but the warnings came first. The pattern is clear. Warning precedes judgment. Grace precedes wrath. Opportunity precedes finality. That's where we are now, in the warning phase. The alarm is sounding, but the fire hasn't arrived yet. How do we know? Because life continues relatively normally. Despite all the phenomena, despite the signs, despite the impossibilities, most people go to work, pay bills, watch television, live their lives. If judgment had begun, that wouldn't be possible. Judgment isn't subtle. It's not mysterious. When biblical judgment arrives, it's unmistakable, undeniable, unavoidable. The plagues in Egypt, the flood in Noah's day, the fire on Sodom, the exile of Israel, the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD, these weren't ambiguous events. They were catastrophic, obvious, and total. We're not there yet. We're in the warning stage, the stage where choice is still possible. But warnings have a purpose. They require a response, and the response determines the outcome. So what's the appropriate response? What choice is being presented? The stone slab said it. Accept or refuse, restoration or judgment. Accept what? Refuse what? The biblical framework is clear on this. The choice is about allegiance, about authority, about who you trust to define reality and determine outcomes. Option 1, trust in yourself, your logic, your understanding, your ability to navigate whatever comes. Maintain control, stay independent, refuse submission to any authority beyond your own reason. Option 2, acknowledge that something beyond human capability is at work. Recognize that you're witnessing evidence of intelligence, power, and purpose operating beyond natural laws. Submit to that authority, accept its terms, trust its promises. That's the choice, self-sovereignty or divine authority. And here's why it matters. Because what's coming, according to every prophetic text, every ancient warning, every pattern we're tracking, what's coming requires protection that you can't provide for yourself. You can't stop earthquakes. You can't prevent solar flares. You can't reverse the drying of rivers or the opening of ancient seals. You can't fight beings that break chains after 4,000 years of imprisonment. If you're facing that level of threat with only human resources, you lose, guaranteed. But if you align with the power that's orchestrating these events, the authority that can command light to appear, fire to burn on water, the earth to shake in geometric patterns, then you're on the winning side. Not because you're stronger, because you're aligned with strength beyond yourself. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Think about it practically. If your country goes to war, you don't face the enemy army by yourself. You align with your national military. You trust their resources, their strategy, their power. You don't have personal capacity to fight a war, but your nation does. Same principle here. You don't have capacity to survive what's coming through your own strength, but alignment with divine authority provides resources, protection, and ultimate victory. The question is whether you're willing to make that alignment, whether you're willing to acknowledge that you need it.
Pride says no. Pride says, I'll figure it out. I'll handle it. I don't need help. I don't submit to any authority I haven't chosen. Wisdom says yes. Wisdom says, I see evidence of power beyond mine. I see patterns I can't control. I see outcomes I can't prevent. I need help. I accept the help being offered. That's the choice. Pride or wisdom, self-reliance or trust. And the offer being extended is specific. It's not generic spirituality. It's not vague positive thinking. It's concrete, historical, based on a person and a promise. The person, Jesus Christ. The promise, restoration, protection, and eternal life for those who trust him. Now, before you dismiss that as religious propaganda, consider what we've been tracking. Consider the patterns. Consider the prophecies being fulfilled. Where did those prophecies come from? The Bible, specifically biblical texts about end times and the return of Christ. If the phenomena match biblical predictions, then biblical solutions might be worth considering. The Bible is clear. Jesus claimed to be God in human form. He claimed authority over creation. He demonstrated that authority through miracles, healing, raising the dead, controlling weather, multiplying food. He predicted his own death and resurrection. He fulfilled hundreds of prophecies about the Messiah. He died, he rose, he ascended, and he promised to return. That return is described in detail, with signs, with warnings, with phenomena that would precede it, phenomena like what we're witnessing now. If Christ is returning, then the warnings make sense. They're not random, they're not chaos, they're announcements, preparations, final opportunities to choose alignment with him before he establishes his kingdom. And that kingdom, according to prophecy, doesn't coexist with rebellion. It doesn't accommodate those who refused his authority. The choice made now determines where you stand when that kingdom is established. This isn't about being good enough. It's not about earning favor through moral perfection. The Bible is explicit that nobody qualifies on their own merit. Everyone falls short. Everyone needs rescue. That's why Christ came, to provide the rescue, to pay the price for human rebellion, to offer forgiveness, cleansing, and restored relationship with God. The offer is free, but it requires acceptance. You have to receive it, choose it, trust it. How? The mechanism is simple. Acknowledge your need. Believe that Christ's death and resurrection provide the solution. Accept his authority over your life. That's it. No complicated ritual, no earned worthiness, just honest recognition of need and willing acceptance of help. Romans 10:9 spells it out. If you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. Confession, belief, trust. Those internal decisions produce external salvation. Not because you earned it, because you accepted what was offered. And here's the promise for those who make that choice. Protection during the coming chaos, rescue during the judgment, inclusion in the restoration that follows. Not immunity from difficulty. The Bible never promises that believers avoid hardship, but it promises presence, strength, purpose, and ultimate victory. Those who belong to Christ are sealed, marked, protected in the ways that matter eternally, even if they face temporary trouble physically. The alternative is facing what's coming without that protection, without that seal, without that promise. And based on what the prophecies describe coming next, that's a terrifying prospect. The stone slab mentioned nations gathering for what they cannot possess. The mountain of gold revealed wars over resources, massive death tolls. Revelation describes it even more graphically. A third of mankind killed, plagues, famines, earthquakes, stars falling, mountains collapsing. Not symbolic, not metaphorical. The language is concrete, physical, literal. If that's what's coming, and every pattern suggests it is, then choosing to face it without divine protection is choosing disaster. But here's the merciful part. The choice is still available, right now, today, this moment. The warning phase continues, the grace period holds, the door remains open, but it won't remain open indefinitely. There's a point. The Bible calls it the day of the Lord, when warning transitions to judgment,
when grace transitions to wrath, when the door closes. Nobody knows exactly when that transition occurs, but the signs suggest it's approaching fast. September 23rd might be significant, or it might be the beginning of a final countdown that extends weeks or months. But the direction is clear. The timeline is advancing. The window is closing. So the call is urgent, not panic, not fear-driven desperation, but sober recognition that time matters. If you've been watching these events unfold, if you've seen the evidence mounting, if you recognize that something unprecedented is happening, then the logical response is preparation. And the most important preparation isn't stockpiling food or building bunkers. It's securing your standing with the power that's orchestrating events. Make the choice. Accept the offer. Trust Christ. Not later, not when things get worse, not when you've figured everything out or cleaned up your life. Now, today, while the choice is available.
Because once the seventh trumpet sounds, once the gathering begins, once the final stage initiates, the choice becomes permanent. The door closes. The division is fixed. And eternity is a long time to regret missing the window. But for those who make the choice, who accept the offer, who trust the promise, what's coming isn't terrifying, it's hopeful. Because yes, judgment comes. Yes, chaos and destruction arrive. Yes, the old world system collapses. But that collapse clears the ground for something better, something that couldn't exist while the old system remained. The restoration, the kingdom, the 1,000 years of peace, the new heavens and new earth, the fulfillment of every promise God made about a world without sin, death, pain, or sorrow. That's what's on the other side of the chaos. That's what the warnings are pointing toward. That's why enduring the transition is worth it. Not to survive disaster, but to participate in restoration, to be part of the new world, to live in the reality that was always meant to be before human rebellion broke everything. That's the hope. That's the promise. That's what makes the warning a gift rather than a threat. The alarm is sounding, not to terrorize you, to save you. The question is whether you'll respond, whether you'll choose protection while it's available, whether you'll accept the offer while the door remains open. Because the phenomena will continue, the signs will multiply, the events will escalate, the timeline will advance, and soon, very soon, the warning phase will end. Choose wisely, choose quickly, choose while choosing is still possible. Let's talk about what comes after. Because the warning isn't the end of the story. The judgment isn't the destination. They're the transition, the painful but necessary passage to something extraordinary, the restoration. That word gets used casually. Restore a car, restore a building, restore a relationship. But biblical restoration is comprehensive, total. It's not fixing what broke, it's remaking everything into what it was always meant to be. And that restoration has been promised for thousands of years. Acts 3:21 describes it. Jesus must remain in heaven until the time for the final restoration of all things, as God promised long ago through his holy prophets. Restoration of all things, not some things, not spiritual things only, everything. Creation itself, physical reality, the relationship between humanity and God, the structure of society, the functioning of nature, all of it restored to original design. What was that original design? Genesis 1-2 gives us the picture. Before sin, before rebellion, before the curse. A world where humans walked with God, where work was fulfilling, not burdensome, where relationships were intimate, not broken, where creation flourished under careful stewardship, where death didn't exist, where pain was unknown. That world was lost when Adam and Eve chose independence over obedience, when sin entered creation, when the curse fell. But the curse was never meant to be permanent. It was quarantine, temporary containment while a solution was prepared. And that solution, Christ's sacrifice, made restoration possible. Now the restoration is coming, and the prophecies describe it in remarkable detail. Start with the physical world. Creation itself groans under the curse.
Romans 8:22 describes it as labor pains, suffering that signals something new is about to be born. The new thing, a restored earth, not destroyed and replaced, restored, renewed, made new. Isaiah 65:17 prophesies it. Behold, I will create new heavens and a new earth. The former things will not be remembered, nor will they come to mind. New heavens, new earth. The word new in Greek is kainos, not new in time, but new in quality, renewed, refreshed, perfected. Peter confirms it in 2 Peter 3:13. We are looking forward to a new heaven and a new earth where righteousness dwells. Same physical creation, but purified, restored to pre-curse conditions, enhanced beyond even Eden. What will that look like practically? The prophecies give details. Isaiah 11:6-9 describes the animal kingdom restored. The wolf will live with the lamb, the leopard will lie down with the goat, the calf and the lion and the yearling together, and a little child will lead them. Predation ends, violence between animals ceases. The curse that made nature red in tooth and claw is removed. Animals return to their original design, peaceful, cooperative, safe. Isaiah 35:1-2 describes the physical landscape transformed. The desert and the parched land will be glad. The wilderness will rejoice and blossom. Like the crocus, it will burst into bloom. Deserts become gardens. Barren land becomes fertile. The curse that made earth resist human cultivation is lifted. Nature becomes cooperative again. Isaiah 35:5-6 describes physical healing. Then will the eyes of the blind be opened, and the ears of the deaf unstopped. Then will the lame leap like a deer, and the mute tongue shout for joy. Genetic defects corrected, injuries healed, disabilities removed, every human body restored to full function. No more wheelchairs, no more hearing aids, no more chronic pain. Not through medicine, not through technology, through divine restoration, complete, instant, permanent. And it's not just individuals, it's societies, nations, the entire structure of human civilization restored to proper function. Isaiah 2:4 describes the political transformation. He will judge between the nations and will settle disputes for many peoples. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will not take up sword against nation, nor will they train for war anymore.
War ends permanently, not through treaties that fail or peace agreements that collapse, but through perfect justice administered by perfect authority. Christ himself will rule, not as a distant figure, but as present king, making decisions, settling disputes, enforcing righteousness. And his rule won't be tyrannical, it will be perfect, because he has perfect knowledge, perfect wisdom, perfect love. No corruption, no bribery, no political games, no special interests, just pure justice applied universally. Zechariah 14:9 confirms it. The Lord will be king over the whole earth. On that day there will be one Lord, and his name the only name. One king, one authority, one standard. Universal peace through universal submission to perfect rule. That's not oppression, that's liberation, because submission to perfect authority frees you from imperfect authorities, from corrupt governments, from unjust systems, from exploitation. And under that rule, human life will be radically different. Lifespans will extend. Isaiah 65:20 suggests that dying at 100 will be considered dying young. People will live for centuries, possibly longer. The curse that limited human life to 70 or 80 years will be lifted. Work will be fulfilling. Isaiah 65:21-22 describes it. They will build houses and dwell in them. They will plant vineyards and eat their fruit. No longer will they build houses and others live in them, or plant and others eat. You'll reap the benefits of your labor. No theft, no exploitation, no economic systems that benefit the few at the expense of the many. Relationships will be healed. Micah 4:4 describes everyone sitting under their own vine and fig tree, with no one to make them afraid. Security, peace, community, without fear, without violence, without betrayal. That's the restoration. That's what comes after the judgment. That's what the warnings are pointing toward. But there's a timeline, a sequence. The restoration doesn't happen immediately. Revelation 20 describes the process. After Christ returns and defeats the gathered armies at Armageddon, Satan is bound for 1,000 years. The millennium, a 1,000-year period of Christ's direct rule on earth. During that time, the restoration begins, progressively, systematically. Those who died trusting Christ are resurrected at the beginning of the millennium. They receive immortal bodies. They rule with Christ. They teach the nations. Teach what? God's ways, His laws, His principles, not as burden, but as blessing, showing humanity how life works best when lived according to design. And humanity will learn, not perfectly at first, but progressively, because the curse is being lifted, Satan is bound, lies are exposed, truth is obvious. For 1,000 years, Earth becomes a living demonstration of what was always meant to be, what would have been if sin had never entered, what will be permanently once sin is finally removed. But the millennium isn't the end, it's the proving ground, the final test. At the end of the 1,000 years, Satan is released briefly. One last rebellion occurs. Those who still harbor resentment against God's authority reveal themselves. They choose independence one final time. Fire from heaven consumes them, permanently, irreversibly. Not because God is cruel, but because rebellion can't coexist with restoration. The restored world can't include those who actively oppose its principles. Just like a healthy body can't coexist with cancer cells, the rebellion must be removed completely for health to be permanent.
And then comes the final stage. Revelation 21 to 22 describe it. The new heavens and new earth fully realized. New Jerusalem, the capital city of God's kingdom, descends from heaven to earth. And here's the stunning part. Revelation 21 verse 3 says, "Look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and He will dwell with them." God doesn't take people to heaven. He brings heaven to earth, makes earth His home. The separation between heaven and earth ends. The spiritual and physical realms integrate. What was divided by sin is reunited. And in that unified reality, certain things cease to exist. Revelation 21 verse 4, He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. Death, gone. The final enemy defeated permanently. Pain, removed. Physical and emotional suffering ended forever. Sorrow, eliminated. No more broken hearts, no more grief, no more loss. The tree of life, which was blocked after Eden, becomes accessible again. Revelation 22 verse 2 describes it standing in the center of the city, bearing 12 kinds of fruit, with leaves for the healing of nations. The curse is completely removed. Revelation 22 verse 3 confirms, no longer will there be any curse. Everything that went wrong, everything that broke, everything that caused suffering for 6,000 years, gone, reversed, healed. And humanity finally fulfills its original purpose. Revelation 22 verses 3 to 5, the throne of God and of the Lamb will be in the city, and His servants will serve Him. They will see His face, and His name will be on their foreheads. There will be no more night. They will not need the light of a lamp or the light of the sun, for the Lord God will give them light, and they will reign forever and ever. Eternal life, direct access to God, meaningful work, perfect environment, endless growth, unlimited potential. That's what's being offered. That's what the warnings are protecting. That's what makes enduring the transition worth it.
Not escape from Earth, not floating on clouds playing harps, but renewed life on a restored Earth with God present and all things made right. Forever. That's the hope. That's the promise. That's what's coming for those who choose alignment with God's plan. The chaos we're witnessing isn't the end. It's the beginning. The birth pains before the delivery, the demolition before the construction. And on the other side of the pain is something worth every moment of difficulty, something that couldn't exist until everything broken was removed. The restoration of all things, paradise regained, Eden enhanced, home, the way it was always meant to be, the way it will be, forever. So here we are, end of the timeline, end of the evidence, end of the explanations. You've seen the lights, the fire, the sounds, the earthquakes, the discoveries, the patterns fulfilled, the countdown advancing. You know what's happening, you know what's coming, you know the choice. The only question left is what you'll do about it. Light columns rose from the Atlantic on July 1st, 10:59 a.m. Today is August 13th, 43 days of accelerating phenomena. Undeniable evidence, impossible events, reality bending under the weight of something beyond nature. September 23rd is 41 days away. The date on the stone, the gathering begins. 41 days, that's all that's confirmed. What comes after is known only to those who set the schedule. But based on everything we've tracked, based on every pattern we've identified, 41 days isn't long. It's not enough time to wait and see. It's not enough time to remain undecided. Because the warning phase is ending, the grace period is closing, the door is moving towards shut. And once that door closes, choice becomes permanent. Here's what matters right now. Not understanding everything, not having all answers, not resolving every doubt. What matters is recognizing that you're witnessing something unprecedented, that something beyond human control is orchestrating events, that the explanations you've relied on don't explain what's happening, and that the only framework that does explain it is the one offered in ancient texts. Texts that predicted light from water, fire on sea, trumpet sounds, earthquakes, rivers drying, angels released, gathering armies. Texts that offer protection, promise restoration, provide hope. The choice is simple, even if the implications are profound. Trust yourself to navigate what's coming, or trust the authority orchestrating events. Independence or alignment, self-sovereignty or divine protection. There's no neutral position. Indecision is decision, waiting is choosing, delay is refusal. So choose. Choose now. Choose while choosing still matters. If you recognize that you need help, if you see that human resources won't be sufficient, if you understand that the power demonstrating itself through these phenomena is the only power capable of protecting you through what's coming, then make the choice, accept the offer, trust Christ. Not as religious obligation, as survival strategy, as recognition of reality, as alignment with demonstrated power. Say it out loud if you need to. Make it concrete, make it real. I need help. I accept the offer. Jesus, I trust you. That simple statement changes everything. It secures your position for what comes next. It aligns you with the winning side. It places you under protection that extends beyond this temporary chaos into eternal restoration. And if you make that choice, if you speak those words with genuine intent, the promise is immediate and irreversible. You're sealed, marked, protected, secured for eternity. Not because you're worthy, because you accepted help from the one who is. That's the decision point. That's the choice. That's what these 43 days of phenomena have been building towards. But for those who refuse, for those who choose independence, for those who trust human wisdom over divine authority,
The countdown continues. The phenomena escalate. The judgments approach. And when September 23rd arrives, when the gathering begins, when the final stage initiates, there won't be time for reconsideration. There won't be opportunity for last-minute choices. The door will have closed. And what happens after that door closes is described in detail in those same ancient texts. Wars, plagues, darkness, death, 1/3 of humanity killed, stars falling, mountains collapsing, fire from heaven, blood to the horses' bridles. Not symbolic, not metaphorical, literal descriptions of literal events. That's what's coming for those outside the protection, for those who refused the offer, for those who chose independence. So choose wisely, choose quickly, choose while the door remains open. Because 41 days sounds like enough time. It isn't. Life is unpredictable. Accidents happen. Health fails. Time runs out faster than expected. The only moment you're guaranteed is this one, this moment, right now. What will you do with it? The lights are still flashing, the signs are multiplying, the alarms are still sounding, but alarms don't sound forever. Eventually, the time for warning ends, the time for action arrives. And when that transition happens, when the 7th trumpet sounds, when the gathering completes, when the final battle initiates, when Christ returns in glory visible to every eye on earth, in that moment, every knee will bow, every tongue will confess, everyone will recognize the authority they're dealing with. But recognition at that point doesn't provide protection. It's too late for choice, too late for alignment, too late for anything except facing consequences. The choice must be made now, while grace extends, while mercy offers, while the door stands open. So make it. Make the choice. Secure your position. And if you already made that choice, if you already trust Christ, if you're already aligned, then what you're witnessing isn't terrifying. It's confirmation. It's verification. It's proof that what you believed is true. And your role now is different, not choosing for yourself, but helping others choose, sharing what you've seen, explaining what's happening, offering the same hope that was offered to you. Because 41 days might be enough time for you, but it might not be enough time for someone you love, someone who hasn't seen what you've seen, someone who hasn't connected the patterns. So share this, send this, show this. Let them see the evidence. Let them track the timeline. Let them recognize the choice. Because when September 23rd arrives, when the gathering begins, when whatever happens next starts happening, you'll want everyone you care about to have made the right choice. You'll want them protected, sealed, secured. And the time to ensure that is now, today, this moment. The countdown continues, the phenomena escalate, the timeline advances. 41 days until the date on the stone. 41 days until something begins that cannot be stopped. 41 days until the choice becomes permanent. What will you do with those 41 days? The light columns were just the beginning. The fire was just the announcement. The earthquakes were just the signal. What's coming next is bigger, undeniable, unavoidable. And on September 23rd, when the gathering begins, when the ancient schedule reaches its appointed milestone, when the countdown reaches 0,
Tonight, with this new blast of dangerous cold sweeping across the U.S., we're tracking a new clipper system moving from the Midwest.
Currently at a standstill.
What rises from the ocean but isn't the sun? What burns on water but leaves no ash? What shakes ground that has no fault lines? What sound echoes from the sky when there's no storm, no plane, no wind?
What's carved in stone that predates every known civilization in North America, yet describes events happening right now? Why are rivers drying up exactly where ancient prophecies said they would? Why are scientists detecting solar anomalies that match 2,000-year-old warnings? And why is all of it, every single event, happening in the same 60-day window? You're about to see evidence that will challenge everything you thought was impossible, because 37 days ago, it started.
Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more awe-inspiring stories of faith, survival, and miracles.
July 1st, 2025. The morning broke differently along the Atlantic coast. From Jacksonville to Miami, from Daytona to Key West, people woke to something that shouldn't exist. Not dawn, not lightning, something else entirely. Columns of light. Vertical shafts rising from the ocean surface, stretching into the atmosphere like cosmic searchlights. Gold, violet, colors that don't belong in a sunrise. They stood motionless. No flickering, no fading. Just pure, sustained radiance piercing through the morning mist for 6 full minutes. Weather stations confirmed it immediately. No storms in the area, no atmospheric disturbances, no lightning activity. Temperature and humidity normal, wind speed calm. Every meteorological reading showed a completely ordinary morning, except for the light. Cameras captured it from 17 different locations. Every angle showed the same thing. The beams weren't reflections. They originated from the water, rising upward like someone had switched on pillars of fire beneath the waves. A marine biologist in Fort Lauderdale recorded a voice memo at 5:52 a.m. His voice shook. "I've studied bioluminescence for 23 years. I've seen algae blooms, phosphorescent plankton, underwater volcanic activity. This is none of those. The light has structure. It has intention." Then, at exactly 5:53 a.m., the columns vanished. All at once, no gradual fading, just gone. People rubbed their eyes, checked their phones, posted videos frantically asking if anyone else had seen it. Within 90 minutes, the footage had spread across every platform. Scientists scrambled for explanations: atmospheric refraction, unusual cloud formations, military exercises. None of it held up, because 48 hours later, the ocean caught fire. Miami Beach, July 3rd, 2:17 p.m. Emergency dispatch received the first call. "There's fire on the water, not a boat. The water itself is burning." The Coast Guard responded within minutes, expecting a fuel spill, an oil tanker leak, something rational, something explainable. They found nothing. No wreckage, no chemical slick, no source. Just flames dancing on salt water half a mile offshore. Orange and yellow fire rippling across the surface like someone had poured gasoline on the Atlantic and struck a match. The flames moved against the current. They intensified in places where the water was deepest. A retired firefighter stood on the beach recording the whole thing. His voice cracked. "I've fought industrial fires for 30 years, refineries, chemical plants. This doesn't behave like any fire I've ever seen. It's not consuming anything. There's no fuel. There's no smoke pattern. It's like the water itself is the fuel." The flames burned for 19 minutes. Coast Guard boats circled the perimeter, testing the water, scanning for heat sources, searching for any logical explanation. Temperature readings showed the water was normal, 78 degrees. No thermal anomalies detected beneath the surface, but the fire continued. Then, at 2:36 p.m., it stopped. Just like the light columns, instant cessation. When Coast Guard divers went down to examine the ocean floor beneath where the flames had been, they found nothing unusual. No scorching, no residue, no chemical traces. The marine life appeared completely undisturbed, fish swimming normally, coral intact. It was as if the fire had never existed. Except hundreds of people had watched it happen. Dozens had recorded it. Every video showed the same impossible scene. By nightfall, news crews had descended on Miami Beach. Scientists offered theories: methane seeps, underwater gas pockets, rare atmospheric phenomena. but none of them could explain why it happened exactly 48 hours after the light columns, and none of them could explain what came next. July 5th, 3:27 p.m., Central Florida. The ground moved. A 4.1 magnitude earthquake struck near Ocala. Now, Florida doesn't have earthquakes. The state sits on the North American plate, far from any significant fault lines. The bedrock is stable limestone. The geological conditions don't exist for seismic activity. Yet 600 homes lost power simultaneously. Traffic lights across Orlando failed. Emergency sirens activated across 3 counties, and from Tampa to Daytona Beach, people felt their floors shake, their windows rattle, their foundations shudder. Seismologists confirmed it within the hour. A genuine earthquake, shallow depth, epicenter near Ocala. No aftershocks predicted because there was no geological explanation for the initial quake. It shouldn't have happened, one geologist told local news. The stress patterns aren't there. The fault lines don't exist. This is like watching water flow uphill. But something else happened during that earthquake, something that made the ground shaking seem almost insignificant. The sky changed.
As evening approached, residents across Central Florida noticed it first. The atmosphere took on a strange quality. Not quite fog, not quite haze. A red-gray tint that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. No storms on radar, no fires reported, no dust in the air, no pollution alerts. Just this oppressive crimson atmosphere that made everything look like it was lit by dying embers. And then people started hearing it. A sound, low, resonant, like a horn blown in a distant canyon. It rolled across the landscape in waves, making windows vibrate, making car alarms trigger randomly, making dogs howl and birds fall silent. One sound, one long, sustained tone that lasted approximately 45 seconds. Then silence. A pastor in Gainesville was outside his church when he heard it. He described it later as not a sound you hear with your ears, but a sound you feel in your chest, like your rib cage had become a tuning fork. Meteorologists had no explanation. The sound didn't match thunder, it didn't match aircraft, it didn't match any known atmospheric phenomenon. But people across 7 counties heard it and felt it, and many of them, more than local authorities wanted to admit, reported seeing something in that red-tinged sky. Shapes in the clouds, not random formations, not pareidolia, the brain's tendency to see faces in random patterns. These were structured, deliberate, massive figures with what appeared to be wings spreading across miles of sky, positioned as if watching the earth below. A woman in St. Petersburg took 47 photos in 3 minutes. Every single image showed the same configuration, cloud formations that resembled beings, tall, robed, with appendages that could only be described as wings. Skeptics called it coincidence, believers called it confirmation, but nobody could explain why the formations appeared simultaneously across a 200-mile radius, all oriented in the same direction, all visible for exactly 12 minutes before dissipating, or why they appeared immediately after the trumpet-like sound, or why they appeared during an earthquake that shouldn't have happened, or why all of this followed fire on water that couldn't exist, or why everything started with light columns rising from the ocean. 5 events, 5 days, 0 explanations. And then came the discovery that changed everything. July 8th, the Everglades, 3 days after the earthquake. A geological survey team was assessing ground stability in the wetlands when one of them noticed something unusual. The water had receded in several areas due to the ground shift, exposing sections of swamp floor that hadn't been visible in decades. One researcher saw what looked like a large flat stone partially buried in the mud. At first, he assumed it was a natural limestone formation, but as they cleared away sediment, they realized this was no natural rock. It was carved. By 4 p.m., they had exposed an 8-foot-long stone slab, 3 feet thick, covered in symbols unlike anything in the known archaeological record of North America. The carvings were deep, professional, ancient. But that wasn't what stopped their hearts. At the center of the slab was an image, a figure with wings, holding what appeared to be a trumpet to its lips. Surrounding it were symbols representing water, fire, and sky, and beneath the figure, a line of text in a script that resembled, but didn't exactly match, ancient Phoenician. It took linguists 3 days to translate it. When they did, nobody spoke for a long time. The inscription read, "Fire will rise where the sea kisses the shore. Then the trumpet will sound." The stone was radiocarbon dated, multiple labs, multiple methods. The organic material in the sediment surrounding it suggested the slab had been placed or buried approximately 3,400 years ago, 34 centuries, predating Columbus by 3 millennia, predating any known European or Middle Eastern contact with North America. Yet here was a carved stone in Florida describing events that had just happened in sequence. Fire on water, then a trumpet sound. Events that occurred exactly as described, in exactly that order, 3,400 years after someone carved a warning into stone and buried it in a swamp. The discovery team was sworn to preliminary confidentiality while experts were brought in. But by July 15th, word leaked, photos circulated, academics fought over interpretations. Some called it a hoax, despite the dating. Some called it proof of ancient maritime contact. Some called it something else entirely, because there was one detail that nobody could dismiss. The slab hadn't been exposed by erosion or natural processes. It was revealed specifically because of the earthquake, an earthquake that shouldn't have happened in the exact location needed to expose this specific artifact, as if the earth itself had decided it was time for the stone to be seen. And the inscription didn't end with fire and trumpet. There was more text, smaller, weathered almost beyond legibility. Translators are still working on it, but preliminary readings suggest it continues the sequence. Something about shaking ground, something about blood in rivers, something about an age ending and a threshold being crossed. But the final portion, the part they've translated with the most confidence, says something that nobody expected.
What was buried will rise. What was bound will be freed. What was hidden will be known. And the choice will be given one final time. That translation was completed on July 22nd. The same day rivers in Tennessee turned red. The same day trumpet sounds were reported in Texas and Ohio. The same day a 5.2 magnitude earthquake hit Southern California. 5 events in 5 days. Then silence for 2 weeks. Then everything accelerated. Now we're not just seeing isolated incidents. We're seeing a pattern, a sequence, something unfolding with mathematical precision across the entire nation. And that stone slab in Florida? It suggests this pattern was known, predicted, carved into rock, and hidden until the exact moment it needed to be found, by people who lived and died 3,000 years before America even had a name. The question isn't whether something is happening. The evidence is overwhelming. The question is what happens next, and whether we're ready for the answer. Because if that stone is accurate, if fire and trumpet were just the beginning, then what's coming isn't just more strange phenomena. It's a culmination. But of what? Florida didn't ask to become ground zero. But when you map every unexplained event from the past 60 days, the lines converge on one state, one coastline, one epicenter of impossibility. Let's go deeper into what really happened there. Because what you saw in the news was filtered, sanitized. The full testimony of witnesses, the details that didn't make broadcast, paint a picture far more unsettling than pillars of light and burning water. Start with the fishermen. The commercial fishing fleet out of Jacksonville operates on a strict schedule. Boats leave port at 4:30 a.m. They're 30 miles offshore by sunrise. July 1st was routine. 6 vessels heading to their usual grounds. Clear skies,
calm seas, standard operation. Until it wasn't. Captain Marcus Webb has fished these waters for 41 years. He's seen waterspouts, unusual tides, bioluminescent blooms, military exercises. Nothing in his 4 decades prepared him for what rose beneath his boat that morning. His testimony was given to Coast Guard investigators. They classified it, but his crew talked. At 5:44 a.m., their depth finder went haywire. The ocean floor, which should have read 340 feet, suddenly showed as 89 feet, then 52 feet. Then the screen went blank entirely. Something massive was rising under us, Webb told his first mate. I've tracked whales. This wasn't a whale. This was the size of a football field. They killed the engine, waited. The water around them began to glow. Not the greenish glow of plankton. Gold. Deep gold light emanating from below, getting brighter, getting closer. Webb grabbed the radio to call it in. Before he could key the mic, the light broke the surface. Not as a blob or a diffuse glow, as 3 distinct columns, perfectly vertical, perfectly still, rising from the water 200 yards off their starboard side. The other 5 boats in the fleet saw it from different positions. All reported the same thing, 3 columns of golden violet light standing in the water like pillars holding up the sky itself. And here's the detail that didn't make the news reports. The light had texture. Multiple witnesses described it the same way. The beams weren't smooth. They had a crystalline quality, like looking at light through faceted glass. And within that structure, there appeared to be movement, not random flickering, deliberate motion, ascending spirals within the columns, as if something was traveling upward inside the light itself. Webb's first mate, a man named Carlos Rivera, described it this way. It looked like a staircase made of light, and something was climbing it. The columns remained for 6 minutes and 17 seconds. Multiple boats recorded it. Multiple depth finders continued to malfunction. And when the light finally vanished, the ocean floor readings returned to normal instantly, 340 feet, as if nothing had displaced the water at all. Every boat returned to port immediately. Coast Guard investigators interviewed the crews separately. All testimonies matched. All video footage corroborated the same event. The official report called it an unusual atmospheric and oceanic phenomenon requiring further study. But here's what didn't go in the official report. When those boats returned to dock, their hulls were covered in something nobody could identify. A thin, crystalline residue that evaporated within 2 hours of exposure to air. Marine biologists collected samples. Analysis showed silicon compounds, trace minerals, and a molecular structure that one researcher described as impossibly organized, like someone had arranged atoms by hand. The residue vanished before more comprehensive testing could be completed. But 12 fishermen, hardened men who've spent their lives on the ocean, refused to go back out for 3 days. And when they did, they wouldn't go near that location. Even now, commercial fishing routes avoid a specific 10 square mile area, 30 miles off Jacksonville. They won't say why in official channels, but in the bars, in the docks, they'll tell you quietly. The water there feels different now. Wrong. Like something opened beneath it and hasn't fully closed. Move forward 48 hours. Miami Beach. The fire. The first emergency call came from a jogger on the beach, a woman named Patricia Saunders. She was running her usual morning route when she noticed something unusual about 100 yards offshore. The water was rippling wrong, she told reporters later. Not with the waves, against them, like something underneath was disturbing the surface in the opposite direction of the current. She stopped to watch. That's when she saw the first flame.
Small at first, a flicker on the surface, then another, then 6 more. Within 90 seconds, fire was dancing across a 50-foot radius of ocean, growing outward in concentric circles. She called 911 at 2:18 p.m. By 2:22 p.m., a lifeguard station had visual confirmation. By 2:25 p.m., Coast Guard boats were en route. But the fire wasn't waiting. It spread to 100 yards across, then 200, flames leaping 8 to 10 feet above the water's surface, orange and yellow with occasional flashes of blue-white intensity. Here's what the news didn't emphasize. The fire created a perfect circle. Not an irregular spill pattern, not a drift shape following wind or current. A geometric circle of flame on the ocean surface, expanding in precise increments as if someone was gradually increasing the diameter of a burning ring. Coast Guard Captain Jennifer Moss commanded the response. She's handled fuel spills, boat fires, industrial accidents. This was none of those. "Fire needs fuel," she said in her incident report. "We scanned for oil, gasoline, chemicals. Nothing. The water tested clean. But the flames were real. They had heat. They had intensity. One of my crew got too close and his face got burned. The fire was absolutely real, but it wasn't burning anything." Temperature readings of the water beneath the flames showed normal range. Infrared scans detected heat only at the surface level, the flames themselves, but no thermal source underneath, no heat plume rising from the ocean floor, no volcanic activity, no geothermal vents. The fire existed in a layer exactly 2 inches thick on the water's surface, and it behaved with intelligence. When Coast Guard boats approached from the north, the flames intensified on that side. When they circled to try a different angle, the fire adjusted, always maintaining maximum intensity toward approaching vessels, as if warning them back. "It was defensive," Captain Moss noted. "The fire pattern responded to our movements." After 19 minutes, the flames began to recede. Not gradually, not flickering out. They contracted inward, maintaining the circular shape, shrinking in precise increments until they collapsed into a single point. Then, nothing. The water where the fire had been showed no signs of combustion, no ash, no residue, no temperature differential. Coast Guard divers went down immediately. They found something. At the center of where the fire circle had been, approximately 40 feet below the surface, there was a depression in the ocean floor. Not natural, not erosion, a smooth circular indentation about 15 feet in diameter and 3 feet deep at the center, as if something heavy had rested there and recently been removed. Sediment samples from the depression showed unusual magnetization. The sand particles were aligned in a pattern inconsistent with natural formation. One geologist who examined the samples said it looked like iron filings near a magnet, but there was no magnetic source detected. The depression was documented, photographed, and marked with a buoy for further investigation. 3 days later, the buoy was gone. The depression had filled in. The ocean floor showed no sign of disturbance. But something else remained. Fishermen who worked that area reported strange readings on their fish finders, not depth anomalies, signal disruptions. Their electronics would glitch when passing over that specific location. GPS coordinates would drift. Radio communications would crackle with interference. One charter captain described hearing voices in the static, not words, not English, but definitely vocal sounds, rhythmic and repetitive like chanting. He stopped taking clients to that fishing spot. Now the earthquake, July 5th, 3:27 p.m. Ocala isn't supposed to shake. The geology doesn't allow it. Florida's bedrock is stable limestone formed over millions of years from ancient coral reefs and calcium deposits. There are no fault lines, no tectonic boundaries, no subduction zones. Yet the ground moved with enough force to register 4.1 on the Richter scale. Seismographs at the University of Florida recorded it clearly. The wave pattern was unusual. Most earthquakes show a gradual buildup, foreshocks, the main event, aftershocks. This one appeared instantly at full intensity, lasted exactly 43 seconds, then stopped completely. No aftershocks, no follow-up tremors, just one isolated seismic event that shouldn't have occurred. The epicenter was pinpointed to a location 3 miles northeast of Ocala. When geological survey teams arrived to examine the site,
they found something unexpected. The ground had cracked, not unusual after a quake, but the crack formed a pattern. It ran in a perfectly straight line for 1,247 feet, then made a 90-degree turn, ran another 1,247 feet, made another 90-degree turn. 4 sides, 4 equal lengths, a perfect square carved into the earth by seismic activity. Inside that square, the ground had subsided approximately 18 inches. Outside the square, no elevation change at all. Natural earthquakes don't create geometric patterns. Fault lines are irregular, jagged, following the weakest paths through rock layers. They don't make right angles. This did. Geologists measured the square multiple times, each side 1,247 feet, each corner exactly 90 degrees. The precision was unsettling. When they began excavating inside the square to understand what might have caused the subsidence, they hit something hard at 6 feet down. Stone, not natural limestone, worked stone, carved stone. That's when they called in archaeologists. That's when they found the slab. But we'll return to that, because while they were digging, something else was happening in the sky. The red atmosphere, the sound, the shapes. Starting around 5 p.m. on July 5th, residents across Central Florida noticed the light changing. Not sunset, that was still 90 minutes away. This was different, a red-gray tint that made everything look like it was lit by dying embers. Meteorologist Sarah Chen was on duty at Tampa's National Weather Service office. She pulled up every available data set, satellite imagery, radar, air quality sensors, particulate matter readings.
Everything showed normal. Clear skies, no smoke, no dust, no atmospheric anomalies. But when I looked out the window, she said later, it looked like the air itself was tinted, like someone had put a red filter over reality. The phenomenon lasted approximately 40 minutes, and during those 40 minutes, hundreds of people reported hearing the sound, a low-frequency tone, resonant, sustained, coming from everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. Sound engineers who analyzed recordings described it as approximately 37 hertz, below the normal range of human hearing, but still perceivable as a vibration. The frequency was precise, unwavering, like a tuning fork the size of the sky. And that frequency did something to people. Multiple witnesses reported physical sensations, pressure in the chest, rapid heartbeat, a feeling of profound unease. Some described it as existential dread, others as overwhelming awe. A music teacher in Orlando described it perfectly. It felt like my body was an instrument being played by something vast, not painful, but undeniable, like I was resonating with something bigger than myself. The sound lasted 45 seconds, then stopped. And that's when people started seeing the shapes, the cloud formations. Now, cloud formations can resemble anything if you look long enough. The brain is wired to find patterns. We see faces in random static. We see animals in clouds. It's natural. But this wasn't that. The formations appeared simultaneously across a 200-mile radius. Multiple independent witnesses in different cities saw identical configurations at the exact same time. Large, structured, clearly defined. A meteorologist in Tampa, a pilot approaching Orlando International, a highway patrol officer on I-75, all reported the same thing within a 3-minute window. Cloud formations shaped like massive beings, tall, robed, with what appeared to be wings spanning miles across the sky. The pilot took photos from 8,000 feet. The formations showed clearly, not vague, not ambiguous, structured configurations that maintained their shape for 12 minutes before dissipating. Atmospheric experts examined the photos. The cloud types were cumulonimbus and altocumulus, common varieties, but the organization was unprecedented. Clouds form along pressure and temperature gradients, one meteorologist explained. They don't create identical mirrored shapes across hundreds of miles. They don't maintain structural integrity like this. It's statistically impossible, yet it happened.
And the formations weren't random. When you plotted their positions on a map, they created a pattern. They were positioned in a circle around the earthquake epicenter. 12 distinct formations, equal distances apart, all facing inward, toward